Because you got powerful legs. How did you get the physique? Was it gym or how did you get the physique?
I've always been.
She's actually not got powerful legs. Do you shower in your dressing room? Do you have a shower on the day of a fight or not? Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Welcome, everyone, to the 526th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse. You can find it everywhere on YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes. It's everywhere, much like ketchup. I think ketchup is quite popular everywhere as well. Boxing not so popular this weekend. In fact, Steve, I think the biggest event of the weekend might have been although only a half dozen lads show up, it still might have been the Boxing Nutters meetup, which occurred over the weekend. Nobody was arrested. No hate crimes were committed or inflicted upon the Nutters. Beers were consumed. It seems to have been a successful outing for the lads.
Apparently so. Here, Matty, just on that, actually, I got sent some photographs from Danny Young, who organised the whole thing. There they are in their T-shirts.
I tell you what, I bet those toilets were like Bolivia, by the way.
Fantastic looking shirts there. Fantastic job there.
Fair play to Danny. He created them, and then there's another one. Maybe one of them disappeared by the end of the night. But yeah, the boys had a good time. I think it was about 7 or 8 altogether in Nottingham.
Said Fred there as well.
Nottingham, isn't that where the women outnumber the men by about 3-2, Steve? And yet they all went home by themselves that night, shamefully.
Yeah, I'm not sure you can class some of them as women, but I get the point.
Well, as the great Mickey Gilley, cousin of Jerry Lee Lewis, once sang, Steve, the girls all get prettier at closing time.
Beauty's only a light step away.
Jerry Lee Lewis, no fuck his niece or something like that. She was like
married his 13-year-old second cousin, Andy.
There we go. 13-year-old guy. There we go.
And he was kicked out of rock and roll, but welcomed into country music with open arms. But that's another story for another podcast. It clearly was. So let's take it out of the deep south and the legend of Jerry Lee Lewis and up to Detroit for the legend that is growing, that of the Gwoat, also known as Claressa Shields, taking a clear, wide 10-round nothing decision over Marcela Cornejo to keep her crown, hurting Cornejo over numerous points in the fight, unable to get the stoppage, unfortunately. I do believe, again, there are definitely rounds in there where a 3-minute round would have probably done the trick and sealed the deal for Shields against Cornejo, but she just tacks on another W, does not get the KO. She will be moving forward, and ultimately, as I have said, what I hope to see is we have the match with Savannah Marshall and Franchon Cruz-Dezern coming up in a month. I would like to see the winner take on Shadeja Green, then the winner of that fight the Gwoat. Maybe we'll get a new fight. Maybe we'll get a long-awaited rematch between Cruz Dezern and Shields, or maybe we'll end up getting a pretty quick turnaround between Marshall and Shields and see if Savannah can't potentially do a little better in a rematch.
Green, Matty, a bit of a puncher, apparently, you were saying?
Quite the puncher. Some folks want to say she's the second coming of Ann Wolfe. I wouldn't go that far. I think Ann was basically the Deontay Wilder of her generation, and it's going to be a while before we see her again. But she can crack. I would say she's a bigger puncher than Marshall, for sure, actually. So.
Yeah, we're not sure about how much of a puncher is. I didn't watch it, as you know. I know you were kind of jesting me, but my views on women's boxing go so far as if the matchup is interesting and entertaining, i.e. Cameron Taylor Serrano, Pursoon, the Gwoat against Marshall, absolutely. But once Marshall disappeared out the way, that was kind of the interest for me. That was what everything had been built up to that point. Savannah Marshall had a chance of beating the Gwoat, and now we're back to these girls. Gabriel's, there was a bit of intrigue because she'd knocked her down before, but of course, as soon as she started fiddling with the dogs and popped dirty, this Corneo came in at short notice. Nothing the promoters could do about that. No interest whatsoever, because I know Shields, very good boxer, talks a good game, doesn't really punch. It just let the wind out of the tires for me, unfortunately, on this one. So I didn't partake in the Gwoat's action this weekend, although the opponent was easy on the eye, I must say.
Yeah, she. I'll tell you this much, Steve. She was better looking entering the fight than she was leaving it.
So maybe the Gwoat hits a bit harder than we thought. Then.
So yeah, I think she definitely got a broken nose in there at one point. It looked like, but yeah, I do think Shields is one of those fighters that would easily benefit from 3-minute rounds. She is barking up the 12-2 tree, as I have actually recommended, thinking, ask for everything, you'll get nothing, ask for little, just might get it. So we'll see what happens on that front. I'd like to see him figured out sooner than later, because I'd like fights like Marshall versus Shields and potentially Shields versus Green and Taylor versus Cameron. I think those deserve at the very least the qualifier of championship rounds, whether you're giving them 3 minutes or not. I think you got to give a championship fight 12 rounds. You're asking for 4 more minutes, for the love of fucking God.
No, I agree. And also on the point of entering in better condition than you left, I think this was the Nutters group when they started at 2:00 in the afternoon. And then this was them when they all left at the end of the day. So it didn't go too well for the boys, but shout out to the Nutters.
It's a rough time. But yeah, they seem to have a great time. Good group. Danny makes some damn fine T-shirts, that's for sure. And it's a shame there was nobody wearing one at the Little Caesar Center in Detroit last night, Steve. Didn't see one Nutter shirt there the entire time, hard as I might have looked. Interesting fact before we move on. This came out a couple of years ago when he passed away, but the owner of and founder of Little Caesars Pizza paid the rent for Rosa Parks for like the last 20 years of her life or something like that. Good man. So now he has a place of sport named after him. So he's got that going for him. Even in his passing. So wonderful for that. And they make a decent pizza, Steve. It's not great, but it's hot and it's ready. You literally walk in, you say, "Can I please get pepperoni?" And they reach into their little heating thing and they hand you a pepperoni pizza. You hand them $7. It works very easily. I am a fan of Little Caesars. In fact, Little Caesars is in my refrigerator right now.
It sounds like Little Caesars is dearer for a slice of pizza than Eddie's front garden.
Yeah, I think that Eddie should have Little Caesars take care of all of the refreshments at the next backyard outing, whenever that might occur. But anyways, I digress.
You don't off.
As I have been so known to do. I'm looking at the numbers up at the top, though. They haven't gone down, so people aren't that annoyed with me yet, Steve. Who I would be annoyed at, though, would be the referee last night in the Ardrell Holmes and Wendy Toussaint fight. Steve, I know you caught this one. There was a point deduction in there and some dubious scorecards leading to a split decision victory by Holmes. Nasty head cut causing it to go to the cards after 8 rounds, in the middle of about 8 rounds had been done. And I thought Toussaint got the raw end of that one, Steven, in a number of ways. 1, referee bias. 2, on the cards. I thought that despite that point deduction, I thought that he was a reasonably clear winner. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought so too. The referee, the offender himself was Gerard White, but I think there was a number of things at play here. Obviously, Hardreal Holmes was the hometown fighter from Detroit, so he's kind of getting that tax, that little bit of a benefit going with him. But apart from the first 3 or 4 rounds, I thought Holmes just stood off completely. Toussaint came forward, wasn't doing anything really remarkable, just throwing a lot of shots, especially the right hand. They had a clash of heads earlier on. Mr. White deducted a point from Toussaint for, I don't know, kind of hitting behind the back of the head. I think Holmes ducked down as the punch was being thrown, or maybe he was coming back up again, and it was a little bit harsh. I thought that, but the momentum was definitely swinging in Toussaint's favour, and Holmes was really starting to feel sorry for himself. And the corner were trying to stick a firework up his arse to get him going. And then the inopportune head clash. I suppose there's never a good time for a head clash, but the momentum was really shifting towards Toussaint, and I thought he was going to get the win. And then the heads clashed. The blood was pissing. Probably should have been stopped straight away, but the doctor, yeah, I like him, the Steve Schmoger of doctors, he threw Toussaint straight back out of there. Blood was pissing out of his head, a bit like Badu Jack. And I think what really screwed Toussaint over was you could kind of see maybe with the hometown scoring that Holmes was ahead, but then they scored the 8th round. That was included in the scoring, which I know is a rule in some places, but it only went on for 1 minute and 6 seconds. And Holmes came out and absolutely threw everything, the kitchen sink. So he won that card on 2 of the he won that round, on 2 of the scorecards. Now on Catellia Chambers, who had it 77-74, it didn't make any difference. The other lady, Rosemary Gross, had it 77-74 and the other way to Toussaint. But Vincent Santino's 76-75 scorecard was definitely affected by the fact that they scored that 8th round and Holmes came out, threw a lot of punches, and by virtue of doing that and winning that minute, effectively, he got that extra point and won the fight. So that was as much as a problem as anything. And at the end, White wouldn't let Toussaint's corner come in and clean him off. And he was wandering around the ring. It looks a bit like Isaac Dogbo, actually, facially. He was wandering around the ring. The doctor was just had his arms up in the air, didn't know what was going on. He was happy for them to continue. I heard him say something like, it was just a little squirt. I mean, that's what they all say. But the doctor was happy for the fight to continue. Toussaint, they wouldn't let him his corner up for about 5 minutes to clean him off. He was pissing blood everywhere. Nobody really knew what was going on. Holmes isn't going anywhere. Toussaint's probably not going anywhere either, but it was just a bad night all round. Just have to write this one off as a bad job, I think. And I've seen Gerard White before, and he hasn't covered himself in glory in this one. But as for Holmes, yeah, I don't know. I just don't think he's got the dog in him, as they say.
Yeah, and I really feel for Toussaint, who actually had bet on himself to win the fight by knockout. So he was trying to work his way towards that, and he kind of got robbed out of it. And he came in great fighting shape in that one, actually coming in 4 pounds below the limit. He came ready to fight, had a good full camp in there. And I just think he kind of got jobbed in there by the refs and by the judges.
Do you think he got punished for having a woman's name?
You could be right. Did you know that the name Wendy did not exist until the book Peter Pan?
No, I didn't know that, actually. That's a great fact, huh?
Yeah, there you go. Well, I like to not only teach people about boxing, but, deeper things like literature as well and culture, Steve.
You're the boy who never grew up in every sense.
Jesus fucking Christ. Let's not even go into that one. But anyways, it's interesting. Andy, did you catch that one or just the Canadian card? I'm trying to recollect.
No, I didn't catch any of that. That DAZN, mate. I only caught the Canadian card, which I think was Thursday. I sat and watched it last night because there was nothing else on whatsoever. So,
well, we'll be there in a second. Also on that DAZN card, caught this one. Joseph Hicks picking up a win over Antonio Todd in an 8-rounder. Todd giving him some decent work, but Joseph Hicks just clearly the more polished fighter, deep amateur background with this young man. And Steve, Antonio Todd, despite his record coming in at 14-7, had defeated Hugo Centeno, been the distance with a number of good fighters. So for young Mr. Hicks, 7th win of his career, not a bad W.
Oh, no, I think that's a very good one. Actually, the commentary were quite, not really scathing, but they weren't that fussed on Todd. They said he was very flat-footed and he had a bit of ambition once in his career. But this one, I think he kind of maybe felt the power of Hicks, who was 7-0 with 5 knockouts now. And he's quite tall for the weight as well. And I think Todd just felt, I'm just going to go the distance here. He lost every round on every scorecard, went the 8 rounds. As you said, he knocked out, he defeated Hugo Centeno, which is a good win. And he took Conor Coyle to a split decision loss. I'm not saying Conor Coyle's any great shakes, but he is a bit of a prospect of some sort of description. So yeah, Todd's definitely a tough journeyman type. And Good matchmaking for Hicks. I'll be interested to see how he goes on from this point onwards. If they're putting him in against guys like Todd, who can cause a bit of an upset in only his 7th fight, they definitely they need to move Hicks on. He is 29. You said he stayed amateur for a long time and didn't quite make the Olympics and that, but now it's time to move on as a pro. And yeah, the crowd seemed to enjoy his performance, and good luck to him, I say.
Yeah, he did well enough in that affair. It'll be interesting to see where he goes from here. There was some decent talent on this Salita card. Salita seems to he has a few good fighters there. Steve, something interesting that I saw regarding him in his stable is that Otto Vollen is going to be a free agent very soon there. So I'm kind of curious where Big Otto will land. I worry that it wasn't Salita's fault he's not getting the big fights. It's just that he's high risk, low reward. I kind of think that's what's left him out in the darkness.
Yeah, I noticed that as well, actually. You picked up on the same thing as me, but I think maybe being with Salita probably wasn't helping in that he couldn't just push him over the line. And, sometimes these promoters take things into their own hands and force them an opportunity, maybe get them an intercontinental belt or put them on in a decent fight and a bit of a roll of the dice, put a bit of their own money up or something. And maybe Salita's not able to do that. But we've seen Valin since the Fury fight. He has gone off the boil a little bit. He got the Brazil win. I thought he would really push on after that. And then he's like fighting Kamil Sokolowski, a few 8-rounders. That Olguin he fought last time, the Mexican, not really a great guy. And then got the 10-round win over Rydell Booker. I'd say a decent promoter. That's maybe harsh, but like a promoter with a bit of backing, a bit of clout. Even an Eddie or somebody would have been able to push them forward or maybe thrown a few quid here and there to get them a shot. He is very high risk, low reward, and doesn't surprise me given the inactivity. And he always seems on the verge of something. He always seems on the verge of a big win. And why didn't the PBC take a look at him? I know they like exclusive contracts. They don't like dealing with people. With Salita's there in the background, maybe Al Heyman, whoever thought, no, we want him exclusively or not at all. And I think it's best for his career to move on from Salita and hopefully get signed with somebody else and get that big shot that he deserves.
Yeah, he deserves one, and we really appreciate the interview too. I like Otto. I'm fond of him. I think he's a good and decent guy. Would like to see something good come his way. Someone who I don't think anything good is coming their way, considering what I saw on Thursday night, is Eric Bazinyan, who got knocked around the ring at different moments by a smaller fighter once again. This one, Jose Macias. Andy, I think for this super middleweight, the end is nigh. He is rapidly approaching that ceiling. And the first time I think he's going in there with a legitimate 168-pounder with just a bit of dig about him. Yeah, I think it's going to be not the game over for Mr. Bazinyan.
How did you score it by? Just out of curiosity, I thought that was close. And they've got two cards here. I think they gave the away fighter 2 rounds, possibly.
Yeah, 98-92, 2 of them. Yeah,
I thought those scorecards were very unfair. Definitely, we saw a lot of bad judging in these. We only got a couple of cards, bad judging all around. 98-92, absolutely out of bounds. I also thought 97-93 was wide. I thought that there were a few swing rounds in there, but this is one of those fights that was a draw or 6-4 the other direction. And I think went that away from that, you're kind of looking the wrong way. I thought it was honestly about a draw, give or take. But this, I don't think the decision was fair. And Macias, I mean, he just beat the crap out of him in that 7th round.
Yeah, as I say, and obviously they badly hurt him, didn't they, as well? I think probably the last 4 or 5 rounds, actually. I thought Bazinyan was taking a bit of a beating, to be fair. Of course, I had a quick look at the rankings and that as well to see where he was at, and he is quite highly ranked. And as you say, once the time comes, obviously the belts are all tied up at the minute. Whenever he's time
can you imagine Billy against him? I think that they're both Canadians. That could happen, and Billy would just wreck him.
Nah, they're both in the same stable, and I think they're trying to push them both up, aren't they, through the rankings in separate directions. It's in their interest. They're going to cash Bazinyan out now, surely, I would say, Andy.
Yeah, what age is he? Must be in his late 20s now, anyway. I'm just pulling the rankings. I'm trying to see. Obviously you've got Canelo as the champ, so that's not going to be happening.
28. He's 28.
So
they should just cash him out against him, Billy. Then I mean, they don't have to struggle to make the fight. They're basically admitting what needs to happen to him. Like, hey, sink or swim, buddy.
The only one I can see really would be Diego Pacheco, who's and appear on a Sky card. I think he might be a free agent possibly. No,
yeah, he was. I thought he was DAZN, but you might.
Yeah, Eddie had him signed, didn't he? I think didn't he just sign a contract extension with Eddie?
Oh,
I think
did he?
I think so.
He definitely fought in the UK at least. I remember that.
Yeah, he fought not what do you call him? Not Kulkai, Jack Cullen. Yeah.
Aye.
Didn't he end up headlining a card because someone got knocked off, got hurt, or the fight was knocked off the billing just a few months ago in the UK, and it just ended up Diego Pacheco headlining.
Yeah, it was that card. I can't remember who fell off it now.
Aye.
So anyhow.
Aye, so see, it was. I thought it was a competitive fight, definitely close. I agree with what you're saying. It was probably like it's either a draw or potentially Macias, the other way by maybe a couple. Bazinyan not badly hurt, but he was definitely rocked, backing off, and I thought he was he was taking a wee bit of beating toward the back half of that fight, and both had their moments in that as well, where they were just basically trading it and banging it out in that as well. But I agree with you. I just don't see Bazinyan being a force any way, shape or form actually at super middleweight, to be fair. I know he spent a few parts of his early half his career at light heavyweight. Maybe the better move would be to try and get down possibly if he can make it to 160, but no, I think the ending will be near at some point in the near future. Whether he gets a title fight or not, mate, I just think it's one of the contenders I think could take him out as well. I just didn't rate the guy. Nothing was really, nothing springs out to you when you watch this guy. So yeah, he's still to convince a lot of people in that, but he certainly convinced the judges last night to give him 8 rounds out of 10. So at least he managed to do that at least.
Yeah, he's got that going for him. I'll tell you what, Steve, what I worry about, and they're trying to stack the deck for this guy too. I mean, they had a very small ring. They're bringing in a guy who's fought most of his career down at 154 pounds. So they're thinking, yeah, we're just going to, set this up so we can just walk this guy down and get him out of there. But instead of that happening, you have the smaller guy ends up walking him down in the small ring. It's just, and the judging was obviously tilted his direction as well. They're doing this guy all the favors in the world and obviously just setting him up to fail. Good fight though. If the cards weren't what they were, Steve, I thought this was all in all a very entertaining fight.
Oh yeah, it was an entertaining fight. Bazinyan's going to be an entertaining fight because he's very basic. The writing was on the wall kind of for him. I've seen this in his last few fights, that he's been struggling. It felt like they're sort of taking him back a little bit. I know they're holding on to him because he's number 2 in a couple of the ranking bodies, maybe top 5 in the other one. So they're really trying to keep him ticking over at the moment and trying to get him some kind of shot, whether it's a vacant shot or maybe a mandatory defense against somebody. But this Macias has been brought over to Canada before, and he's definitely upset people in the past. And he's a very tough guy, and he can punch a little bit too. But in his last couple of fights, Bazinyan, I watched the Caceres fight because I kind of got used to these Thursday evening cards. I'm actually quite enjoying watching them on the next day, like on a Friday. And I saw him against Caceres. He did okay. Again, the scores are very wide. One judge gave him all the rounds. The other ones gave him 98-92. So he does get the benefits. Against Alantes Fox, he struggled early on. I remember we talked about this fight, as you would with Fox, because he's a good tall guy, long jab, always very strong early on in the fight, fades down the stretch. And that's what Bazinyan really took advantage of. Again, one judge had it 95-95 against Fox. The other two had it 98-92, which seems to be his requisite scores. But I thought the fight was razor close. Doesn't surprise me about the scoring, though. Macias is not going to get any favours, but it doesn't matter about the scoring. The story of the fight for me, as Max Kellerman would say, is Bazinyan. He's so basic. He was turning southpaw as best he could. He got hurt with things. He doesn't really show much variety. His corner were very angry with him. Mark Ramsey was shouting and screaming, just trying to get him through these 10 rounds as best they could and keep him ticking over. He was supposed to beat Macias handy over 10 rounds and just keep moving towards a world title. But we've seen him now, nearly 30 fights, 28 years of age. He's well supported. He is an exciting fighter, but he's an accident waiting to happen, and they're just going to look to cash him out. I can't see them putting him in against Billy because they're from the same stable. They'll like them to get separate shots, I think. They might go in against each other at some point in the future, maybe, after they're both lost, or maybe after Bazinyan's definitely lost. But yeah, he's not going anywhere. But they've built him up this far. They're going to try and get him a title shot of some description. But anybody half decent with a dig will just finish him off, because we've seen this coming now for the last 3 fights. I have, at least, anyway, and he's just not great.
Yeah, he confirmed it for me last night as well. I think even his trainer Mark Ramsey said the same thing, that based off that performance, he is not even challenging Canelo in any sense of form.
Oh, no
if
chance.
he gets that shot.
No chance.
That is that's like a 3-round job for Canelo if he wants. Canelo ends up fighting any way he wants. That guy just won't do actually at the top end.
No, he just doesn't have it, and we'll see what happens and how it ends for him. Whether they feed him to one in their stable, maybe they put him in with some one of the interim titleists or something like that, and he can get a little payday and go on his merry way to the land of poutine and maple syrup. Also on that card, a guy who is clearly done. Alberto Machado jumping up a couple of weight classes to 140 pounds to take on Steve Claggett, only to find out that he still can't take a punch there. And honestly, he looked like he filled out pretty well, Steve. It wasn't like he looked like he was fat or anything at the weight. He's just done. Whatever he had at one point in time is gone. And Steve Claggett, and he's on a good enough winning streak here, but it's so tough to tell, what his level is based on the opposition he's been in against. Got a good enough punch. He's a decent enough pressure fighter. But I mean, you just look at the top of the 140-pound division. I don't know if he's got it, and clearly you're not going to learn it against a faded former super featherweight champion in Alberto Machado.
No, Claggett hasn't got it, but what he has got going for him is that he has a great engine. He's a very strong guy, and he'll always give 100%. He reminds me of those kind of East Coast Boston guys like your Mark DeMorris or your Ryan Kielczewskis. At a certain level, he will give you a tough fight. But we know what Machado is now. I was actually thinking of the career of Machado, sad bastard that I am, as I was watching this fight. And it was 2017, and this is the death throes of HBO. Shows how bad it got. They really thought he was going to do something. If you remember, he stepped in against Jezreel Corrales. He was getting his ears boxed off for about 8 rounds. Then he caught him with a shot. I've got the details up now. Machado was dropped. That's right. Corrales was bossing him. And then he turned the fight around and knocked him out. HBO brought him back against an unbeaten African, Rafael Mensah. He beat him. And then he fought Yoondale Evans, who had been a Roy Jones prospect at one point, because I remember Jones was on the call that night, and he obliterated him in a round. And people were thinking, oh, yeah, Machado is a bit of a puncher. And then he's one of these fighters who all of a sudden you see the kryptonite, and then it can't be unseen. Andrew Cancio, who was a decent fighter, again, a little bit like a Claggett type, a lot of losses on his record, done things the hard way, absolutely annihilated Machado to the body. Machado could always punch, but he just could not take it to the body, and Cancio stopped him back to back. And then ever since then, he's just turned into an absolute opponent, took a couple of years out. Fierro stopped him, and now Claggett. I think he dropped him first time to the head. Then the second 2 times, there was body shots definitely involved. Just cannot take it to the body whatsoever, even moving up in weight. As you said, they probably thought he maybe put a bit of muscle on. He looked good physically. He is a puncher. He is dangerous, and he'll be able to trade off that name for another few losses. But yeah, if you're losing to the likes of Claggett in the 3rd round, very much a Cancio kind of figure, then you need to think about your future. Also, just before I forget, another man who needs to think about his future is Thomas Chabot, who was on the undercard. He calls himself the Ghost. I've never seen a Ghost hit so much. He's 9-0 with 7 knockouts. He's got a mullet, and I have never seen anyone so upset at losing. He won a split. After winning, he won a split decision over this Luis Bolanos Lopez, 4-2-1. Shouldn't have won the fight. You could definitely tell himself. He looked absolutely devastated at the end. He's another one who's been found out. So I am putting all my chips in on Wilkins Matau. I said this to you before, Matty. He's 3-0, 2 knockouts. Looks like an orthodox Johan Pablo Hernandez. He's 18 years of age, good amateur. Can punch, puts his punches together nicely. I've seen him since his debut, all 3 of his fights on these Eye of the Tiger shows, and I'm keeping an eye on Wilkins Matau, so you might want to join me along on the journey there. And no female fights this time. John Arobio was on. He can punch as well, Colombian based in Canada. Some good ones to look out for. I am enjoying, as I said before, these Canadian shows.
Fantastic. Andy, did you catch any of the rest of this card?
Hi, mate. Claggett, as you said, he's just destroyed the guy, hooks and uppercuts. Machado should definitely retire. Quite impressed with the young Colombian guy on the undercard that I seen. The 19-year-old, was it Juan Orobo, I think he's called, 1-round knockout. Interested to see where he ends up. I think he might end up at lightweight once he kind of starts, obviously getting up in age and filling out, because he looks like he's got a bit of frame on him, and as well he could put a bit of muscle on. So who else did I catch? That is it Shabot, Thomas Shabot? I think some were saying he was quite lucky to get away with that one actually as well. And I think it was Christopher Guerrero. I thought he looked pretty decent. Big, I think it was 5 rounds. I think it was other ones at Wilkins. Mathieu, he looked pretty good as well. Decent power. Only 18. So Canada seems to be getting a couple of youths and that through as well. So I think they two might be worth keeping an eye on. That Wilkins, Mathieu, and that Joan Orobio. I think they two could be up and comers in the next 2 years. We'll wait and see.
Canada is just so immigrant friendly, man. All sorts of people will find their ways there. I mean, you look at so many of the people that have been big names out of Canada, and very few of them are native born, and if they are, they're firstborn.
Lucien Bute was Romania.
Adrian Diaconou, remember him? He was a Romanian as well, the Shark.
Diaconou, Beterbiev has set up shop there at this point in time. Jean Pascal was either born in Haiti or his parents are from Haiti. Adonis Stevenson's parents were born in Haiti.
Few big Eastern European heavyweights at the moment as well.
Mm-hmm. I think Canada's going to have a hell of a decent fight scene for at least the next 10 years. They got some decent talent coming up. So, I mean, and like I say, I mean, you kind of got to look at Beterbiev as part of that package right now. I mean, because that's what he's calling home. I mean, that guy's just...
Yeah. Sorry, on you go, mate. On you go. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine.
I was going to say, the commentary was saying that young Colombian actually, that Matt Ramsey's his trainer. Somehow he said they came across some sort of amateur boxing link for Colombia. I don't know how he got it online, but anyway, he's seen this guy, and this is how he's actually signed him. So he signed him right out the amateurs. So that's I think that was his 3rd fight possibly. Only 19, as I says, and he looks quite tall for us at a 130 fighter.
Yeah, it looks good, him.
So I don't know, they're obviously, as you say, Matty, they're doing their research, they're looking the continents for different fighters, and they're bringing them in. Russian, Uzbeks, Romanians, Colombians.
That's the way you
was
do
it Oscar
it.
Rivas as well? He's based out of Canada, you know?
He's a Colombian, as well. Well, and I mean, that's the way to do it. That's why Samson Lukowicz has been so successful in boxing. Part of why he's so successful is he's had so many failures, but he goes to places nobody else wants to go to scout for talent, and he kind of finds the cream of the crop where he's at. He signs them if they have no one else, brings them over, and they sink or swim. And he's had some damn fine swimmers in the last 15, 20 years. Sergio Martinez, didn't Lukowicz have something to do with Pacquiao at the beginning too? I can't
possibly.
Definitely Martinez.
But he's basically any fighter that's coming out of the Dominican Republic right now is Lukowicz on too. I mean, you take in these guys and it's just pretty stunning what they do. And it looks like PBC obviously has something to go with Cuba. I bet you that Heyman is involved in, getting people on boats and
literally sink or swim
coming on over. Yeah. It's like, well, we have your paperwork, bitches. Time to fight.
Well, Lukowicz always seems to manage to match them in the showbox. Those showbox cards that me and you watch on a Friday evening. He always seems to find a 14-0 Dominican and a 17-0 Puerto Rican, and he sticks them together, and he seems to have an eye for that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And really, whether the fight is billed as a 50-50 fight or not, those undefeated Dominicans against the 2-loss Mexican, man, that's a fucking coin flip. So those are good fights. And like I said, there's these guys and whoever's doing the scouting for Eye of the Tiger, I mean, they're doing a little bit of that stuff too. It's fantastic.
Some of the comments are saying as well, people are starting to enjoy the Thursday night cards. That's probably maybe only the second that I've probably watched in the last few months, but I might keep my eye on future ones actually, to be fair, because everybody seems to be saying that there is good action that you're
I've been watching them. They are actually, Andy, they are decent.
Aye, so as you say, Matt, especially with the young talent coming through, it should start to pick up a little bit.
Well, and you also have access to those the Pro Box cards that are on come on YouTube on Wednesday. So we're starting to fill our weeks with some cards. Maybe it's not top tier talent, but we're seeing developing prospects.
Thing is, as well, with those Thursday night cards, it's not rocket science. Now they're on a Thursday. You kind of get to know the commentary team. You see the same fighters turning up time and time. You know what I mean? There's a bit of familiarity about it. You can follow the people along as they develop.
It's the old-fashioned Thursday night fights back for the ESPN days. Mm-hmm. Or it used to be Tuesday night fights back in them days as well.
All right. Well, Andy, did you find anything else to watch this week? Was there something going on in Southeast Asia, in Eastern Europe, perhaps something at the prison canteen?
There was not, mate. There was a couple of prelim cards and that, but a lot of the stuff last night was like your German and a few Russian cards, but a lot of it was like subscriptions. Kind of had a lot of prelims leading into it that were free to air, then everything else was behind the subscription. But your man here doesn't pay for unless it's top tier talent, like say Crawford against Spence. Yeah, baby, I'll be paying for that one. So nothing major, mate. I was actually at a loose end. That's the reason how I ended up accidentally, as I say, watching that Canadian card. If it hadn't been for the fact that there was a quiet week with nothing else on, I probably wouldn't have watched it. Like if that Canadian card fell on next weekend with all the cards on that's happening, that I probably would not have watched it. So I'm glad of that at least.
Yeah, I'm just glad that I am entertained at least 3 days a week in some way or shape or form. This week was the only one where I really didn't get something kind of in the middle. I thought there was a Pro Box card that was going to be on, but no, it was just their 1 year review of since their 1 year anniversary starting the service show and some of the highlights, which was good enough. But I can only listen to Paulie Malignaggi talk so long, and then they showed off the ring card girls in a really, really sexist fashion, but it was still enjoyable because they're hot. I don't know what to think about that, but good times.
Well, here I just seen a comment in the chat there, Matty. Should we talk about the absolute icing for Krzysztof Głowatsky in his MMA fight there at the weekend?
I didn't see it. I did not see his debut.
I'll chuck it in the chat there so like to see it. So, anyways, Głowatsky is on his back on the floor. Full mount by the opponent, and Głowatsky finds a 6-inch left hook or a left cross right across the guy and iced him as he's sitting on top of him. Brilliant shot, mate. That's what happens when you get guys who know how to throw a lethal punch with like 4-ounce mitts on. It was horrific. I'll just send you to the now if I find it there.
I stick it in. I haven't seen that either. Actually, no, Ozzy was going on about it.
It was beautiful. Just roughly about 2 seconds in, you've got to be quick to see it, but it's absolutely stunning. People are like, right. What? The people, even like the MMA fans were like mesmerised by it. It says, how's he managed to get all that leverage on that shot? It's all saying, if you get the 6-inch punch, mate. Yes, look at that. A few boys in the chat there saying, Thomas Newman, what a shot.
I still have. I just watched it and I never saw that shot.
You see it? 2 seconds. It's so quick.
I missed it as well. I didn't know which one was which. I thought the guy on top was going to knock him out.
He just briefly left his guard and sunk that in there. Yeah, that was a hell of a shot from the bottom there. You don't see many people who are able to do that. You can't leverage those shots.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, a lot of people were saying that they've never seen anything like it. Probably
I see it now. Yeah,
was it Kevin Holland? I think the guy's name was. They were saying. I don't know how far back that goes.
I have to look and see how chinny that guy might have been in his MMA career, just out of curiosity. But nonetheless, that shit doesn't happen. That's pretty crazy. So, you mentioned the future, Andy. So let's explore the future since we got some time here. Oh, I'm gonna leave this. I'm gonna leave this month, and I'm gonna go to July 1st, and we're just gonna talk and see what's we got going on here. We got Jared Anderson is gonna be in action against Jean Katabutsky. That's a lot going on there. Let's see here, and then we're also gonna see Makhmudov on that same card. That same day is that Franchon Cruz Zern Savannah Marshall fight I mentioned that I'm looking forward to. Also on that card, Mark Heffron against Zach Chelly. What do you think about that one? With Chelly coming off that win against Sims.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. Yeah, Chelly's was a good win over Sims, so he's on the way up. Heffron, kind of seen him outboxed in the past. I'd say Chelly should have enough nous about him and boxing ability to outbox Heffron, but it's a decent domestic scrap. Yeah,
just when you mentioned that card, Matty, you're talking about Claressa Shields. I've seen Natasha Jonas. Would that fight potentially get made for the women's fight? Shields against Jonas. 154, obviously Jonas is at, but obviously to come up and weight it, or unless Shields can come back down, I don't know.
I think Jonas jumped a few weight classes to go grab that title already, if I recollect, though. I don't know if Shields can get down to 154. I don't know. Interesting. Currently, it looks like that fight's against TBA. We'll see who they put her in with. The Gwoat did say she will be at this fight, so Manchester, get ready. You're going to have not just Franchon Cruz Zern, but also the Gwoat in town. Should be a fantastic time for the people of Manchester. Let's see here. The week after that, if he doesn't fucking get rhabdosis or whatever the shit it was. Gonna have Virgil Ortiz and Amanda Stanionis coming in together. And Andy, I have to tell you, with all of Virgil Ortiz's recent health issues, my slight hunch on Stanionis is going to become a really public lean here. I'm thinking that Stanionis pulls this off. What do you think? Do you think White Corte and that wicked jab might have a chance?
What card's this, mate?
July 8th on DAZN from San Antonio, Texas.
July 8th. I didn't care where that card was so quick, actually. I'm sure I'm away on holiday that weekend.
They probably couldn't fuck around too much with that fight getting pushed so much. The sanctioning body probably said, dude, you got to get in the ring. We can't keep
Yeah, I fancy Stanionis as well, actually, Andy, on that one, to be honest.
And I think that's going to be the first fight of the new season of the Boxing Nutters Prediction League as well, Steve. So anyone hoping to get into the new season, why don't you go ahead and join us at Patreon, and then Steve will help take care of the rest of that. We'd be glad to have you in the Nutters Messenger group, which is now over 100 members.
Unless you're a wanker, in which case we wouldn't be glad to have you at all.
Yeah, are you sure that fight's still going ahead?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is, Andy.
Anyway, it was boxing news because I was just looking for it. Nothing's been hanging for it. June 8th. Unbeaten Hut. We'll meet
July. Because it got rescheduled, didn't it, from April, the end of April? It was supposed to. It was going to headline, and then they were going to have Zapata on it, I think.
Then it just ended up Zapata there, and everyone's like, well, goddamn.
Well, again, about that fight, really, for me, it really hinges on what kind of shape Ortiz is in, obviously, with this previous illnesses, and that we just don't know what it's going to take out of him, and how is he making the weight safely. And really, that's it for me, really, because we know what Stanionis brings, that great jab, good boxing IQ, good, it's tough and that, good, tough body, tough about the chin and that as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Stanionis win that on points, to be fair. But a lot of it hinges on what Ortiz is still got at that weight and whether he's healthy, really,
Yeah, well,
was it an appendix he had or something like that in his last?
No, it was the rhabdo. How's that, Steve?
It's like rhabdomyolysis or something. It's some kind. It's like a muscle wastage disease, is it?
All right,
it's like you have
Stanionis
proteins in your body or some shit.
Aye, it was Stanionis that had the appendicitis.
Right. Okay.
Yes, that was the first cancellation.
January, that's right. Aye.
Stanionis had to get his appendix jacked, and then this. And but this is the second fight that Ortiz has had to pull out because of this rhabdo shit. The first one, I think, was the first time he was scheduled to fight McKinson.
Well, according to Matt Butters, Ortiz is suffering from sanioitis, so that sounds pretty
but
dumb.
It's what he found with his doctor is he has long-term, he's suffering from long COVID, which is sometimes just people who have gotten COVID. It just sticks longer. Yeah, he's just had long COVID. It's just suffering a lot of symptoms from it. So anyways,
is he double vaccinated?
He got it, and then he got vaccinated, and then he waited, and then I think
wait till he catches Stanionis' jab, Andy. Eh?
Yeah, so it's that's
and it's not a double jab either, mate.
But yeah, I mean the thing is Ortiz that I this fight I love it, but I don't like it because I'm really high on both these fighters. I just think Ortiz is better suited to go to 154 at this point in time. I hate to see either of these guys lose. Like I said, I'm real high on them. But because Ortiz is a fantastic fighter, and I think we kind of forget that. Like, I think he's a bit underrated, and you also don't stop Michael McKinson unless you're a quality fighter. He's a very awkward customer, and Ortiz just handled him fantastically in their fight. So him at his top, Stanionis at its top, regardless what the books say, I really think it's a 50-50 fight. I'm still looking forward to it, although now I do lean Stanionis.
I agree with you. I also think as well that one thing to keep an eye on Ortiz, it hasn't really come to pass yet, but I think it might do in the future, is he has another one of these nuisance old mans, doesn't he? He's not like a Jojo Diaz or a kind of Teofimo Lopez Sr. type, but I think he is a bit of a pain in the arse. His old man and Ortiz is a bit spiky character, isn't he? I know he blocks people on Twitter. He asked for some journalists to be removed in the past, and he was sending abusive DMs to somebody, so you can get under his skin. And with him struggling at the weight and all, and if he was to take a loss, I don't think he would take it too well, to be honest. I think him and his old man are maybe a bit of an Errol Spence car crash to happen in the future if they fall off the rails. So for his sake, he needs to win this.
Do you think the initials V Ortiz might mean something, Steve?
Yes, quite possibly. It could be a precursor, yes.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. That might not be good. We'll see, though. Really looking forward to that fight, though. That one roughly a month away at this point in time. Week later, we're going to be back in Detroit. Alicia Baumgartner trying to avenge the only defeat of her career, taking on Christina Leonard-Dartu, who, as you all know, was supposed to be fighting Michaela Mayer, didn't pass a medical back here. God knows what the fuck else is going on there. A good fight on that undercard, though. Andy, I like this one. Richardson Hitchens against Montana Love. Definitely favoring Hitchens in this one. I think Steve Sparks exposed some real mental issues in the game of Montana Love. Nonetheless, good fight between these 140-pounders.
Yeah, you're jumping onto cards I didn't even know existed, actually. I mean, I didn't even look at these cards until like 2 weeks in advance.
Yep.
Alicia Baumgartner against who?
Christina Leonard-Dartu.
Oh, right. No,
Don't worry about that.
She fought Taylor, didn't she? Didn't she fight Katie Taylor?
I think you are correct. But that's why
Get me on Chicks with Dig, man.
There you go. That you should join me and Joe Kennedy next time. But Andy, that's why I asked you about Hitchens against Montana Love. You might know something about that just because you've seen them both fight.
Yeah, well, Hitchens seems to be a decent enough boxer, I suppose. Yeah. When Love, you mentioned the Spark fight, was that the knockout?
That was the one that was a DQ. It was a DQ. Spark had dropped him in the fight, and then Montana Love fucking straight up shoved him out of the ring, very flagrantly, and the ref just went ahead and DQ'd him, said, fuck this guy, so.
Right, that's right.
And it was in front of his hometown audience, and his ticket sales were absolute shit. It was a truly terrible night for Eddie. I think we all laughed maniacally, actually.
Even Ed. Right, well, I'll probably go with Hitchens with a safe bet and say I reckon he maybe win a decision, I think. I'm just trying to remember much of Love's previous fights, to be fair. But other than that Spark fight, which is kind of like, when you mentioned it, rings a bell. Just really kind of
Hitchens will stand him on his head, Andy, but he won't finish him. He's very risk averse, but when it comes to skills, he's night and day. Love didn't fancy it against Spark, and he carries a little bulldog into the ring with him, and all. So he's got it coming to him. But Hitchens will absolutely stand him on his head, I think.
Aye, but I think he's got the height and reach on him in that as well. Most of his fights, he's usually quite dominant, probably. So yeah, I would probably say he's probably a level above Montana Love at this point. But as says, you jumped ahead of me here, Matty boy. Andy Cruz is on that card.
Against Juan Carlos Burgos, a very, very durable fighter.
That's a good fight.
Cruz getting out of the gate quick right there. Burgos took on
Keyshawn
Davis in Davis's 8th fight, I think, something like that. So they're not fucking around with Andy Cruz. He's ready to go.
Aye. And of course, this guy's went distance with Devin Haney, Burgos in the last 2 or 3 years, possibly, I think it was.
He's a tough bastard. He's done now when it comes to winning, but he's tough guy, Burgos.
I mean, obviously, again, it depends what he's bringing in terms of, not so much longevity, but in terms of intensity, kind of try and make a statement. But at 35, and what he's been doing over the last few years, I mean, you just look at some of the names the guy has fought, and that he has been in with some of the best.
Seriously, win, loss, lose, or draw, one of the best resumes in boxing.
But yeah, well, probably he's got Hasegawa there, he's got Cristobal Cruz, Roman Martinez, Mikey Garcia, Devin Haney. And obviously he's now becoming obviously the kind of filler for the younger guys who are coming up like Keyshawn Davis now, Andy Cruz Jr. I mentioned to you guys in that as well. Obviously, remember some of these Cubans are fighting on these Mexican pro cards and that as well. Apparently, the guys are going to be getting paid. So I wonder if anyone's going to pick up that story. Actually, be interesting to hear.
One for Bryn, maybe.
Yeah, one for Bryn, maybe even one for Boxing News.
So I'm telling you, and I'm just going through these, and they might be news to you. So I'm trying to give you some reasons to be excited, Andy. And maybe Steve will even be like, wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that was happening. But I'm just going with ESPN, which, as we know, is touch or go. You guys' stuff domestically doesn't get a lot of that stuff, so bear with me. July 22nd from Shawnee, Oklahoma. I think this is kind of weird. God, that's kind of close. I might have to go to this one. Going to have George Kambosos against Maxi Hughes. And then Keyshawn Davis taking on Francesco Patera. Giovanni Santillan against Eric Bonet as well on that one. Also going to have Olympian Troy Isley on that card. Steve, any of that tickle your fancy?
Well, I have a bit of an irrelevant story to tell actually about Maxi Hughes. I was at my friend's 50th birthday party last night. Shout out to Nikki. And I was promoter stroke manager Mark Dunlop was there. Some people might know him from the Belfast scene. I was chatting to Mark all night. And I happened to mention to him a fighter from Belfast called James Fryers, who was very talented and he was under Mark's stable. And I says, I'm surprised he didn't go further. And he'd actually lost to Maxi Hughes in the Europa Hotel. And James retired, and Maxi Hughes from that point onwards just went on this crazy run to end up fighting, as you said, George Kambosos in a few months. So it just goes to show guys like Hughes just keep on pitching away, never give up. He got that win, got rumbling back on the title scene, got the IBO title, and there he is riding high. So a bit of an irrelevant yarn for you there, but Maxi Hughes, who's to say he can't go over there and give George Kambosos a right good fight? I don't think he'll beat him, but it's been a bit of a Cinderella story.
No one's the home fighter. I like that idea. Like, cool.
Yeah.
Maybe shitty judging will be part of the calculus.
Well, I think as well that Hughes was one of these guys who he kept getting opportunities, quote unquote, from the likes of Eddie, but it was like he was set up to lose. He's due a massive fight, but Eddie kept pitching him in against people, wasn't it? Galahad, and then he put him in against that Straffon, was it, who beat Tennyson, and he kept getting Eddie would have just kept sticking him out until he eventually lost. So fair play to Hughes for taking things into his own hands and going over and getting this big opportunity. But yeah, the point being, you have to keep going, I suppose, in this sport sometimes. I mean, look at us, freaking 500, 600 odd episodes later. You got to keep going to get your just rewards in the end. So fair play to Maxi.
Well, that's at 135 still, so it'll be interesting to see what Kambosos comes up in terms of weight.
Yeah, good point. He looked translucent, didn't he, in some of his previous fights? I know he trains like a demon, but there's only so many times, Andy, he can keep shredding it off. Like.
Exactly, and he looked awful in that Haney fight. Like, he had nothing in terms of gas, nothing he could change up. Max is usually good 1-2. Southpaw as well, isn't he? So I'm sure he's a southpaw, isn't he, Maxie?
Yes, he is. Yeah, very, very high volume southpaw. Yeah.
There you go. And Haney's a southpaw, and he gave Kambosos every.
Haney's not a southpaw.
No.
Do you know? No. Oh, he switched southpaw. Sorry, that's what I was thinking. Sorry.
Did he?
Yeah.
Anyhow,
he was switching up a wee bit. Sorry.
Anyhow, but just a few short days after that, Andy, we're gonna hop over to the island of Japan, and you're gonna have an undercard fight on that one. It's gonna be Rabisi Ramirez against Satoshi Shimizu, but that's just the appetizer for a good one that we're all looking forward to. Stephen Fulton against Naoya Inoue, gonna be a fantastic morning of boxing for me, afternoon of boxing for you, I would imagine, evening of boxing for the good people of Japan. But this is just a hell of a fight, and good on the people involved for actually making this fight happen.
Yeah, fair play to both guys actually as well. Obviously, we've had the wee delay with the injury. I think it was Inoue or whatever, but here we are. But what, 6 weeks away? I'm expecting Inoue to win, and I would be absolutely astounded if he was to come out here and absolutely blow this guy away. Actually, to be fair, Fulton is obviously he is slick, he's skilled, and that maybe just lacks that wee bit of power that Inoue's got, and that's what makes it completely interesting. Because Inoue isn't really great on the back foot as well, so if Fulton can maybe back him up, I've been interested to see what Inoue can do, but by way of negating it, but jab and the left hook, if he gets him to the ropes, I think Fulton's going to have a hard time actually. He can't afford to be on that ropes for long, so you need to use his legs for a fair chunk of this fight. Pop and move and just do everything you can. You probably need to tie up from time to time, but of course it's Inoue, it's coming up in weight as well, so it'll be interesting to see how he's coming up as well with the power, how it holds, especially the 24-hour rehydration as well, because you'd expect Fulton to be slightly bigger than him possibly, so a couple of wee question marks on that as well, but I'm going to go with an early pick and say Inoue, but I'm going to go with points actually. Let's see, I'll be astounded if he does it. If he does them by stoppage, and does it clean. Kind of like there's no jump in, there's no early stoppage. Like you always take a bit of beating when you step in here. I want to see a clean stoppage if possible. If not, by 12-round decision.
Steve, my hunch on this one. Interestingly, the books favor Inoue, not widely, but they favor him. But if this was just a good big guy against a good little guy, which I think might be the case, I think you would definitely have to go with Stephen Fulton. And the calculus becomes even harder if you're trying to figure out, well, but is it a good big guy against a great little guy? But then let's just make it even more difficult. Is this a great big guy against a great little guy?
Right, hang on. Start at the beginning again. I'm only joking.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Throw those breadcrumbs out, my friend. Throw them out. Find your way back.
I'm going to say, yeah, I need some string or something to get myself back to base. But yeah, I think I said before, I just have a funny feeling like it's going to be a very close fight. And at the end of it, a lot of people are going to think that Fulton won the fight. But with it being at home and Inoue being very good and a puncher, blah, 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 I think he'll squeak through on points. I think it'd be very close. Fulton's got a great engine. He's a big guy. He doesn't punch that hard, but he's going to be right there. If he can push Inoue back, it becomes very interesting. I know Inoue is very good. He can box and counter punch as well, and he's a very versatile boxer. And it'd be interesting to see how his power translates and moves up. But I just think that it's going to be a very close fight. Maybe one of those ones where some people thought X did this better and he should have won, or someone else thinks the different. Maybe Lomachenko-Haney-esque almost. But I have a feeling that Inoue might just scrape through. But a lot of people think that Fulton did enough, and fair play to him for going over and taking the fight. Two proper fighters, proper champions, doing what they should be doing.
Absolutely, and I am looking forward to this one. I might even ask the bosses for the morning off so that I can definitely get enough sleep, because that's going to be a difficult one for me. But I'm all in. This is going to be a good one. Super excited for this fight. And that brings me interestingly into something interesting. And I asked some of the guys to submit pound for pound lists for me, and I think I got everyone in here. I'd like to thank Joe Kennedy, Kevin, Patrick, and Nathan for submitting. Don't have a whole bunch in here, but we do have a good handful. Our pound for pound list is calculated at this point in time. Going to start at the bottom here, and based on the number of lists that he appeared on, going to give number 10 to Haney, even though he was in a tie with my system with Kenshiro Chirashi and Juan Francisco Estrada. So interesting start there. Number 10. Devin Haney. Number 9, Shakur Stevenson. Number 8, Tyson Fury. Number 7, Artur Beterbiev. Number 6, Canelo Alvarez. Number 5, Errol Spence. Number 4, Dmitry Bivol. Number 3, Alexander Usyk. And actually, it's 2A, 2B. With Terrence Crawford and Alexander Usyk, to be honest, they're tied. And just inching ahead with one more extra point, Naoya Inoue would be our number 1 pound-for-pound fighter currently with what I had submitted with the Boxing Nutters group. And I'll give him some more time next month. We'll probably do a wider, see if we go a little longer, get more submissions next time. Also, people that were mentioned that weren't on there, you had Jermell Charlo, Vasily Lomachenko. Tank Davis was also on there as well, but didn't quite make the cut. And I thought maybe another one on there. Nope, because we had the A and B. I mentioned Taraji and Estrada. Andy, what are your thoughts on that list?
Yeah, I can't remember it all, mate, but it sounds pretty solid. Estrada, I suppose, deserves maybe to be in the top 10. I would maybe not have Lomachenko in the top 10 at this point. Haney probably, yeah. Bivol certainly off the Canelo win. If you're going to have Canelo in the top 10, you need to have Bivol in there possibly. Fury mid-half possibly. Definitely Spence and Crawford bringing up about 3, 4, and 5 mark possibly, wherever way you want to put them. I would agree with possibly Inoue and Usyk as well. Maybe bring up the first two. Usyk obviously the only undisputed champion at cruiserweight. Ethan Holyfield didn't manage that. Unified champ at heavyweight, beat Joshua with relative ease, probably both fights. And he's try to make moves, try to get either Wilder or Fury next. And that hopefully we get the Fury fight now at Saudi Arabia and that. So yeah, I think that sounds pretty much fair. I've seen some rankings with Josh Taylor and Gervonta Davis in the top 10. I've seen Josh Taylor as high as number 7 actually. Let me see who was that way. Ring Magazine. So I don't think Josh should be on the list anymore. To be fair, maybe the top 10. Sorry.
I think once you get to 12 months of inactivity, you kind of got to get dropped.
Yeah, I suppose. And it says,
so, I mean, to be fair, Errol Spence shouldn't be on there at that point in time either.
Yeah, what about?
But he does have a fight scheduled, so.
Would you agree with Lomachenko no being in the top 10? If I said that.
Yeah, only one person had him on their list.
Right.
So I agree with you. He wasn't on mine. I was with you with Estrada. I was one of two people who had him. We both had him at 8.
Right.
I think Stevenson, in retrospect, I can't remember where I had him, and I think maybe I should have had him higher on my own. Yeah, because I keep forgetting that Stevenson is now at the point where he has 3 weight classes of work under his belt. So
that's a polite way of putting it. 3 weight classes of work. He's won WBO, like vacant WBO titles in 2 of them, and got no names whatsoever. I know I'm being facetious and mean, but I'm just saying, like, that's how these people are calling themselves 3, 4, 5, 6 weight world champions these days. That is an exemplification, notwithstanding Stevenson's a fantastic talent, obviously.
What about Fulton? Would you bring him in? Or was anybody put him in the top 10? Did you notice, Matt?
Nobody had Fulton on their list, but he'd be one of those people that would be like knocking on the door for me. Like, I didn't have Tank on my list, but I think Tank would be kind of sitting right there too.
And then obviously about Jamel Charlo, but it's because this is an inactivity possibly.
Yeah, inactivity, and he also only has the 1 weight class of work was one of the reasons I was thinking about that.
He unified the weight class though, didn't he?
He did unify it, but a fair number of people have unified at this point in time. It's so it's I almost think that in certain ways with the way that the unifications happen and the interims and blah blah blah, that you kind of got to look at it in full and in the way that it happened. But he's got a decent bit of it on under him.
I think if it comes to what have you done for me lately? He's been active for over a year now. I think it was last May he beat Castano in the rematch. I think it was actually. So the inactivity is absolutely killing fighters, first of all, but that's a side point. That's something that's annoying me. But people have different criteria, as you mentioned before. Andy did about people being inactive or winning fights at different weights. I think you have to take a number of criteria into it. But for me, really, it's like, what have you done for me lately? What are the names on your resume? Who have you beaten recently? Hater Dave always used to come on these, and I know he was trolling a little bit, but he would always have Bernard Hopkins in, even though Hopkins at that point was like beating the Shumanovs and whoever the other fella was who Schmoger pushed in the face, Murats of this world. He says, well, look at his resume before that, tidying up in divisions, beating De La Hoya, beating this, that, and the other. So people have different ideas about it. So you can either look at who they've beaten recently, if they're on a good run, if they're active, different weight classes they've run across. Because, of course, the original pound for pound was to kind of get these fighters up to a certain level without including the heavyweights. Like a lot of pound for pound lists wouldn't have included the heavyweights. That was the whole point. There's so much criteria and subjectivity going into these. It's hard to judge, but they are good talking points. Top rank in ESPN put a lot of stock into pound for pound lists, whereas the others not so much.
Well, and I think the argument that heavyweight shouldn't be included is a worthy argument, because at heavyweight, you can't, heavyweight's the only place where on, the day of the fight, or excuse me, the day of the weigh-in, you can outweigh your opponent by 40 pounds. And, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
But at that point in time, you're dismissing somebody like Usyk, who is coming into the ring 20, 30, 40 pounds lighter than people and beating them. So
the likes of Usyk are perfect for pound, in my opinion. He's the epitome of a pound for pound fighter. He very recently, in the context of boxing, swept up a whole division by beating a lot of good champions and one after another on the road. And then he moves up to heavyweight and he's off back to back or whatever it was, wins over Anthony Joshua. And he's got 3 belts. I mean, if that isn't the body of evidence over the last few years, I don't know what is.
Oh, absolutely.
Whereas Spence, for example, hasn't fought in 16 months. Where the hell is he? Crawford, I've had my issues with him. He cleared out a division, beat Julius Ndongo, and
but he fights once a year, every
exactly.
year
They're completely inactive. Charlo, excellent wins, avenged his losses, and then you could say, well, okay, what about the guy who's won a title, who's unified a division, say for example, by going and winning like Usyk did, belt after belt after belt, off champion after champion after champion? Or then you've got another title holder who might have won 1 world title, and then he goes and takes 3 off somebody else who has gone and picked them all up together. You know what I mean? So there's all these different little levels and nuances to it.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to be interested about this list too. I mean, everything about the nuances aside is come when we make the August list to hopefully do this once a month with the boys, is we're going to have Fulton against Inoue to calculate into what we're doing, and also Crawford against Spence. So that's going to be really interesting in how that calculates. And like I said, Usyk and Terence Crawford are tied in the total number of points. It's just and Crawford was number 1 with more people than anyone else. It's just that one person had Crawford rated quite a bit lower than everybody else. I think they might have had him at 5, 6 or something like that on the list, and everybody else had him 1 or 2. But the main thing I really take away at the top level of the sport is that the people are seeing that they're basically being 3 truly elite fighters in the sport, that being Terence Crawford, Alexander Usyk, and Naoya Inoue. So, I mean, between those 3 fighters, you got to say, yeah, like that's a decent argument to have, wouldn't you say, Andy? Like between those 3 fighters, which one's best?
What was the 3 fighters, mate? Sorry, I just got distracted there for 2 seconds.
It's okay. Inoue, Crawford, and Usyk, because they're all separated by a single point.
Well, I would probably go Usyk, Inoue, and Crawford.
Personally, and I had it. I mean, I put up my list. I think I had it. Crawford, Usyk, Inoue. Crawford, Inoue, Usyk. Actually, yep, that's how I had it.
Just because, I mean, obviously, again, this is all mythical, and there's a lot of debates and everything. But I put a lot of stock in a fighter who's on the road, not just wins it, but defends it, and then tries to then goes out there and tries to be undisputed. And he's done that pretty much since he's turned pro. He had a couple of fights in Ukraine, obviously, before he started up in the class levels and become a world champion. But pretty much every single fight for a title defence or try to fight for a title, been on the road. And I put a lot of stock into that as well, because obviously, a lot of you hear like Frank Warren that we'll do our best to try and get home advantage, which is a big thing, type of thing. But this guy doesn't. He's different mentality. Doesn't need the home advantage. Just goes anywhere, fight anywhere. So I respect that. I put a lot of stock into that type of stuff.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you, Steve, one of the reasons, go back to the heavyweights, the reason why I was thinking about Fury on my list, and why I was one of the people that have Fury on my list, is sometimes when it comes to the heavyweights, what I like to do is obviously look at their body of work and their dominance, etc., etc. What I like to also look at with them is if you make them some sort of an equivalent in another weight class, what would they look like? And I'm thinking, like Tyson Fury, you got to kind of make him like a Tommy Hearns kind of build welterweight, and a guy that can move like that, has the punches that he does, has the slick shit, knows how to be a bit of a big man. You kind of got to imagine him, a guy rehydrating quite a bit on fight night kind of thing would be who he is. But I take that skill set and what he does, and that's why I have Tyson Fury on there, just because the talent is so obvious, and he's an undefeated fighter with a pretty damn decent resume at the weight.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think it's hard. I haven't got the imagination quite for those ones. Sometimes I try to think, what would Fury do if you were shrinking him down to different weight classes or moving him across in different eras and decades and generations to fight different guys? I think that's quite difficult, to be honest. But just picking up on one thing Andy said there, actually, I also would give a lot of stock to the likes of Usyk for going on the road, and I think that's a very commendable trait in a fighter because that makes fights happen, plain and simple. We see the fights we want to see in a sport where people are ducking and diving outside of the ring as much as they are in the ring, and there's so many what ifs, and guys are retiring. Oh, it would have been nice if so and so had fought him, or blah blah in his prime, and we missed this fight, we missed that fight. Just guys who will go on the road, take the short end of the purse in some cases, just be easy to deal with, no issues whatsoever. Went to UK, fought Bellew, came over, fought Joshua, did this, that, and the other, goes wherever he needs to go. I think it's a very commendable trait because it just makes the fight happen. It takes it out to the sort of realms of the mythical. Then we see the fights, we know who's better than who, and so people who do that, like Usyk, a lot of commendability to him for that.
Absolutely. You got to love the road warriors of the world, especially when they win like they do. But, even guys like Glenn Johnson, he fought everyone everywhere, didn't always get the right side of the nod. But if you gave him a number, he'd sign on the dotted line and fly to buttfuck Egypt to fight a penguin. He didn't give a shit.
Well, you see again the body of evidence for these guys, and the fact that they're fighting so often and fighting so many good levels of opposition shows that they're not a problem to deal with, and they will make the fights that matter.
Absolutely. It's what I like is just guys that it's good to care about your paycheck. Obviously, you got to get the best money that you can, et cetera, et cetera. But the giving a damn about your legacy and the will to measure yourself against history, I like that. It's sometimes that's that little just extra piece that a fighter needs to achieve greatness is to know what greatness is and want to chase it.
Yep, 100%. Everyone wants hometown advantage and that, but there are
Andre Ward. Oh, excuse me.
I didn't want to mention him because I know I go down this hole, but yeah, it was just ridiculous. Everything had to be in Oakland. Everything had to be on his terms. He made a lot of good fights, but people had to make concessions. Guys have been draining themselves down to the skeletal form to fight him, and he got away with a lot, and it was all because he wouldn't fight out of his hometown. And I don't blame him for that, but yeah, like you say, you got to look at legacy at some point, and his legacy was a fantastic legacy. But other guys just do it that bit more for me by going on the road.
Absolutely, and actually, I'm looking forward to it. I have it on the good old DVR right now. There was a new Showtime documentary released about Andre Ward that is on, and
I can tell you right now, I bet that is the most boring. I watch it but I'm waiting for it to come on the trackers. That's the most boring shit ever. Andre Ward sitting there patting Andre Ward on the back. Oh my god! Cannot. Oh, it's out. I've just seen it, Steve. It's out on the trackers, mate.
Oh, very good.
Yep. Well, and also I'm sure you'll get to hear from Virgil Hunter in there too, and that's always exciting as can be.
The thing is, to call it the Book of Ward, to actually name himself like after some holy writ, that's some fucking self-ego there, man. That needs checked, big style. Come on.
He's got the personality of a broken toaster, Ward. I've no interest in listening to him as much interested I'd listened to watching him fight in the day. Des made a good point there, I thought. Oscar was a pound for pound great, but he lost some big ones and got stopped with a body shot. But that's because he dared to be great and took on the greatest fighters in an era across multiple weights. Pretty much everybody absolutely 100% agree with that.
Yeah, Oscar, for every bit of shit that we give him, he did absolutely go after everything that he could.
Oh yeah, 100% he did.
Yeah, and it was wrong what they did to Felix Sturm against him, obviously.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true.
And to be honest, and that's kind of the fucked up thing about boxing, right, Steve? Is yes, there's money on the line, and everybody stands to lose a little because of the fight not happening, whatever. But you kind of save Oscar from himself by scoring that Sturm fight correctly. Never would have happened.
That was never going to happen, though. Was it Hopkins had won? Was it Keith Holmes or Robert Allen or somebody had won on the undercard and done his part, hadn't he? Or maybe it was the week before. I can't even remember. And then the Sturm was a travesty. But yeah, there was so much money riding on that fight. It was corruption at its finest. They were never going to give Sturm, the unfancied Sturm, that fight.
No, and I think people are overrating Oscar and what his power could be like at 160 pounds too. I mean, he was a decent enough puncher. I mean, and especially at below welterweight specifically, really a very good puncher. But once he was getting above 147 pounds, it got a little rougher for him.
Absolutely, yeah. He's relying on his speed rather than his left hook.
Yeah, well, and he was, also towards the end of his career, he was bouncing trainers real bad too. Do you remember that, Steve?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was moving from trainer to trainer. Chris Butler there, just quickly, Matty put in a good one. Winky Wright fought a lot of good fighters. I was listening to a podcast during the week, actually, with Bronco McCart. I don't know if you remember him, Matty. He was a sort of... I think
you talk about another... he's another guy who fought a shit ton of different fighters. He fought Kelly Pavlik.
Kelly Pavlik. He had about 3 fights with Winky Wright. Anyway, it was an interesting podcast. I'll maybe put the link up if I could find it. He sparred in the early days of his career in the Kronk and all. He was like the white boy in Detroit kind of thing, and he was tough enough, and they asked him to come back, and he took his licks. But he had some good fights with Winky Wright. But he said that Wright was such a strong and very... consistent fighter, that thudding jab and really good defense. Actually, Ronald Winky Wright against Harry Simon. If anybody wants to see some good technical boxing, that is a real absolute one for the sweet science. Winky Wright. I met him in Vegas. He loved to bet, did Winky, but he was an absolutely excellent fighter. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a shame when he came back and he fought Quillen.
Yes.
Yeah. Didn't he get robbed against someone else when he was doing it, when he kind of in the middle there when he wasn't fighting often?
He had to go on the road for a while, didn't he? We had 2 or 3 fights in the UK. I think he fought Ensley Bingham actually at one point, and then he fought, wasn't it? He fought the Argentine guy in France around that time. What do you call that Argentinian? He was a champion. He beat Winky. I'm sure they fought in Paris or something. Anyway, yeah, he was a good fighter who had to go on the road until he had that sort of swan song at the end. Beat was it Mosley? He beat, didn't he, a couple of times? And he fought Trinidad as well, and Sam Solomon and
Taylor. He got a rough end of it against Jermaine Taylor.
Right. Yeah. That was Taylor's first defense, wasn't it? Was it draw?
That was a draw.
That's
Yep.
right, that's right.
First one after the 2 fights against Hopkins, maybe.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm trying to see where else. Yeah, he was on a good run there too up until that point. Let's see, he'd won every fight since 1999 when he lost to Fernando Vargas by majority decision.
That's right, the Vargas fight. With Vargas was IBF champion. That's it. Yeah, I forgot about that fight. That was a good close fight too. Vargas, I thought, won, but yeah, it was a good fight.
And that Harry Simon fight, he lost a majority decision.
Well, that actually got announced on the night as a draw, I think, and then they went back to the change rooms afterwards and then revealed that the scorecards had been incorrectly totaled up or something. I think that was the case.
So until obviously the tail end of his career, the only time that he at least didn't have a draw or a scorecard in his favor in a fight was when he lost to Julio Cesar Vasquez.
That's the guy I was trying to remember. Right. Where was that fight take place? Was it?
That was in France. Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's interesting. And I remember when I interviewed Dougie Fisher with Kurt, he said that Julio Cesar Vasquez was one of the more underrated fighters of his career, of his era, actually. At the time, even though he finished his career 68-13-1, at the time that he fought Winky Wright, he was 50-1 at the time.
Okay.
So
yes. I do vaguely remember him, not in any great detail now.
Yep. Then let's see. Then he lost unanimous decision to Pernell Whitaker in 1995. Yep. Yep. Just a few fights after he fought Winky Wright. So yeah. He lost to Sweet Pea, had a few wins. Then he lost to a Frenchman, Laurent Baudouin, I think.
Laurent Baudouin, yeah.
There you go. And then another little run. Then he ran into Robin Reed, and it was basically all downhill from there in 2001 for Mr. Vasquez. But he had a nice little resume on there.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you're losing. I mean, losing to Sweet Pea. I mean, I don't think anybody could complain about losing to Sweet Pea. I mean, that was just going to fucking happen. Especially, I mean, even though that was kind of getting towards the end of his good times, I think he had been on the toot for a while.
Point. He was spaced out, wasn't he? At that time.
God, he's like, don't you wonder like what a sober Pernell Whitaker would have been like if he had just been like Floyd Mayweather, like I won't fucking drink or do drugs type. Oh my God.
Yeah, I haven't wondered actually, but now that you mentioned it, I might do.
Yeah, so there you go. You get to think about that tonight as laying next to Mrs. Wellington, thinking you're dreaming about other women. You're like, God, who could Sweet Pea have beaten? Anyhow. Because you got to think, I mean, it makes you a little dodgy on the heart, right? And that's got to have some sort of an impact on your motor. So
yeah, well, I'm sure he's not worrying about that now.
Yeah, you just don't even have the energy anymore, right? You're like, fuck, one's enough. All right. Well, I think we've drawn that out as long as we can at this point in time. I was hoping Rob might be on. Is he not here today?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, to be honest. He might turn up at some point, maybe to talk about the Gwoat.
Yeah, how could he not? I mean, I know she's one of his favorite fighters.
Yep.
It's amazing we've only got an hour and 20 minutes though, Steve, but what are you going to do? So thank God, Steve. I think some of the stuff I might be able to catch on ESPN, but I'm very happy. I'm going to be on my golf and road trip over the weekend here, and I won't even be forced through boredom to say, hey, why not shell out $25 and see what's going on in Miami, Florida with the pay-per-view featuring such fighters and fights as, let's see here. It's going to kick off. We'll go with the first one is Ahmed Albiali. Haven't seen him in a while against Rodolfo Gomez Jr. Adley Rodriguez against Raul Garcia Jr. Reynel Medeiros versus Antonio Perez. Alex Esponda versus Andre Vieira. Guillermo Rigondeaux, all 40 whatever fucking years old of him, versus Julian Evaristo Arastule.
Oh no, I've got him down against Charlie Clemente Andino.
Oh shit! Well, at least he still has 3 names. Oh, 12-0. Oh, that might be a good underdog to grab there. But that, my friends, that's just the hors d'oeuvres before the main event.
This guy, no, you need to hear this one. This guy that Rigo's fighting. I think every single opponent he's fought, the combined win record, I kid you not, could not be any more than 30 wins. And he's fought 12 times.
So they all have 3 wins or less?
Basically, his last 3 opponents have had 3 wins, right? 3-5-2, 0-10-1, and 0-2-0.
27, 30, 31 wins, yeah.
31 wins. So Rigo should be smashing this guy early doors if he's still got anything about him.
Yeah.
Well, let's find out. Are you going to be shelling out the money, or you're?
Listen, you know the answer to that one. The thing is, but Adrian Broner prop on this card, you expect me to be coining out my hard earned if I could watch Mr. AB?
What if there was an option to spend like $3 and watch it in crystal clear HD, commercial free? Would you shell out the $3, Andy?
Nope.
Man, rough times there for Mr. Adrian Broner and his promoter, Don King. The opponent, Bill Hutchinson. I don't know much about Mr. Hutchinson. This is going to be over welterweight. No hope for Adrian Broner getting a 140. Thank God they didn't even shoot for that.
Listen, I think we should do, Matty. I think we should do for your parlay. See if this actual main event goes ahead. I wouldn't be surprised to see Broner pull out of this fight sometime this week. And by the way, do we know about the weight? Is Broner coming in at AB's weight, any weight that he wants, or what? Is it 147?
It's 147. Yeah.
Who's showing this? This isn't on that BLK Prime thing, is it? Or are they gone?
It's on a Fight TV pay-per-view.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
I have no interest, absolutely no interest, and I would follow Broner and like watch him for his antics, but this opponent is absolutely dog shit. I mean, this isn't even going to entice me. I might not even watch this because there's a lot on next weekend. I'm not even, although it's Friday night, isn't it? So I probably will watch it on the Saturday.
Well, I will have you know, Mr. Wellington.
Yes.
That Mr. Hutchinson is on a winning streak dating back to 2016 that started with the once defeated Jairo Vargas.
And how many fights is 2016 too?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 fight winning streak, including against Eric Hall. That's not the old agents, is it?
Is that the? No, it's no. Is it?
No, 10 fight winning streak, man.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's only fought once in the last 4 years, give or take. Actually, 3.5, call it. 2019, his run stopped. COVID stopping him in his tracks. Must have gotten fat. came back in January of last year against 14-19-3 Rondell Hubbard, going to a 6-round unanimous decision
Hubbard
on that one. Yeah, I don't know if he was preaching the gospel of Scientology there. But coming into this, 22-4 with 9 big wins by way of knockout. Never been stopped has Mr. Hutchinson.
Lost his debut, didn't he? I think.
Yeah, I've had many other
I literally
fighters.
do not know a single name on that guy's resume, by the way.
This is terrible, this is, man. Even for AB. This is how far he's fallen.
When to see, well, listen, you to be spectacular, mate, and I'm here to piss on his grave. Don't you worry about that. But hasn't he fought since 2021 either? By the way, it's been just over 2 years since the great AB. Z Problem has been in the ring, and Z Problem is going to be getting flushed in the toilet very soon.
Was it Santiago? Was that the last time he fought?
Aye, Santiago. Aye.
My God, he hasn't fought since then, right enough.
Otto Wallin fought Big Briswell on the undercard. And after that, it was Pacquiao that put him on his ass, and he hadn't fought for 2 years after the Pacquiao fight either. So,
my gosh,
30. What age is he now? Actually,
yeah,
his age.
He's going to end up a light heavyweight. I've always said that he'd be a light heavyweight, looking all washed.
No, he's no, mate. What's he going to be? Come on.
What?
Spin it. Tell us. What's he going to be?
Sucked out, fucked out, looking for the handout.
There we go. Close to it, mate.
Oh dear, he's only 5'6" according to Boxrec. Anyway, why are we talking about this anyway, man? I can't get on board with this one, Matty. I'm really struggling.
Fuck the owl.
Hold on, there's more shit going on, Steve. We're warming up, baby. We're warming up. Card. All right now that was just the Amoosh Boosh, my friend. Or the
hairy bush and the moose bush, by the way.
Or the fucking Amoosh douche this time. Let's go with that one. Let's see here. So we're going over to DAZN in the evening for you guys, afternoon for me over here. Again, I'll be on the road. Won't get a chance to catch this one. Damn me and my luck. Damn me. Gonna open up the card. How far down are we gonna want to go here? Let's go. Oh, Johnny Fisher's on the card.
No, let's not.
Let's see here. You got Youssef Kumari versus Reese Bellotti. Chevron Clark against David Jameson. Then you're going to have Nina Hughes against Shannon Courtney for Hughes WBO bantamweight title. Then fight actually I think could be pretty good, and the underdog has a damn decent chance in this one. Shernika Johnson taking on Ellie Scottney. Johnson putting her title on the line. Scottney coming in the favorite. This Johnson, she comes to bang though. Her fight against Susie Ramadan was a real cracker from down under. Enjoyed that one. But that is all just in preparation for a 10-round war. You like to see the swinging punches. You better tune in for the show from London. Gonna have Sonny Edwards against Andre Campos. Steve, your thoughts?
Same as mine, Steve.
So many thoughts. My God.
This shit,
is
man.
Fucking terrible. This is
Eddie picking up his cheapest card of the year, man. It's costing him buttons to put this card on.
God.
Nobody's making profits every fucking year.
Let's have a look at the opponent. Andres Campos from Chile. So he's got 4 knockouts. So it's going to go the distance, that one, isn't it? Sonny Edwards.
Chile. I know the feeling.
Sonny Edwards is going to box the ears off him. So we all know that one. Never heard of Shernika Johnson, although she looks decent enough on the box rec. Siobhan Clark is fighting against David Jameson. I saw David Jameson fight once in the Short Social Club in Belfast.
This guy's the teeth, man. She chewed her apple to a tennis racket.
I know, she'd sort you out all right. Johnny Fisher's on there to sell tickets. He's in against the 7-4 guy. Mohammed Mustafa Ali. Never heard of him. Shannon Ryan. Kumari Bellotti, decent low-level scrap, sort of domestic scrap. Nina Hughes against Katie Healy. Nina Hughes is 5-0. Katie Healy's 6-0. And they're fighting for the WBA world title. So, I just can't get on board with this one, Matty, to be honest. I'm really struggling.
Andy, are you struggling as well, sir?
Absolutely. I just said it, man. When you were talking, like, for fuck's sake. This, I even look at that BT card for Saturday night, or Friday night, sorry. It's even worse.
What's on that one, Andy?
Mark Chamberlain against Marvin Demolare for IBF European title.
Aye.
David Adelaide against Imar, some Bosnian gravedigger, possibly. No, it's a Serbian, actually. So, a Serbian gravedigger. Who else we got in it? Tom Farrell he's fighting a Henry Turner. I think that might be Turner's coming out fight because Farrell's obviously been over the course before and that, and he's picking up L's and that now.
Yeah. Carl Fails on the undercard. That's a great name, isn't it, for a boxer? And his brother Ben Fail. Double fail.
He better fucking better be positive for this card, then I tell you. But listen, I'll tell you what, mate. See those two. In fact, there's 3 cards on over the course of the weekend. Sonny Edwards, his brother Charlie's fighting on Friday night as well. And there's another Friday night card for Liverpool that Dennis Hobson's putting on. And I tell you, even though one's got the vacant European and Commonwealth flyweight titles, and like you couldn't make one decent card out of any of those fucking 4 there, like last week's shit. Chevron Clark, David Jameson, no interest in it. Edwards Campos, I can understand Edwards having this fight. I don't know if it's a mandatory defence possibly, but they're trying to get the Martinez fight made at some point, so I can maybe see Eddie might have one fight there.
That Royston Barney Smith, who's on the BT undercard's decent. I've seen him fight a couple of times. Yeah. He's okay.
David Adelaide's obviously he's a bit of a banger in that, but you just need to see him testing and go up through the levels and see where he actually stands. Is he chinny? Is he glass? We don't know. Charlie Edwards, he's still fighting Tom Bob Anderson at this point. No opponent named. Ryan Frag against Marcel Braithwaite for the Commonwealth Super Flyweight title, and then as I mentioned. Yeah, but that's kind of like your lower level stuff. Flesh out on the card that for you, but you 4 cards across the weekend and that, not one really worth your fucking time.
Oh, how sad that is. Let's see here. What else do we have going on that weekend that Andy can complain about? Let's go to this one. Yeah, let's go to this one. Yeah, let's go. June 10th, Ontario, Canada. DAZN, evening stateside. Very early morning for you in the UK, so you get to wake up and see this. Exciting times. What do we have on here? Let's start with Ricardo Sandoval versus Rocco Santamoro, 10-round flyweight battle. Mariano Juarez against Maeli Flores, 10 rounds at 122 pounds in the women's division. Going to have Shane Mosley Jr. on a fair run, if I recall, against Demetrius Ballard. God, that name is really familiar to me, Steve.
Munguia fucked him up in the last
fight. Munguia
there beat him.
He fought somebody else as well. I can't remember who it was now.
Yeah, and all of that going to be in support of Jaime Munguia taking on the aging Sergey Derevyanchenko, who hasn't been in the ring for a fair bit, as I recollect. Scheduled for 12 rounds at middleweight. Should Munguia be able to make it? Always a question. Steve, my feeling on this one is he is going to be able to bully this much smaller, older, now slower man. It's a fight set up for Munguia to have a good name on his resume. And Derevyanchenko does have some tools in there. He might surprise Munguia, but my hunch is Munguia by slaughter. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Munguia is going to stop him, actually. Someone was saying that this might be at super middleweight or something, but it's 12 rounds on BoxRec. I don't think Munguia has a title, does he? I think this is at super middleweight, actually.
On the BoxRec anyway, aye.
Oh, is it? Right, I'm sure I was listening to another podcast and they were saying that it is. Derevyanchenko has no business being up there. I know that he's done a lot of his best work at middleweight. I'm looking down his record early on in his career. He was sort of floating around the 165, but that was probably because he hadn't got to make weight or whatever. But he's a real tough guy, and he's had it tough, hasn't he, over the last few years? Fought Jacobs, Kulkai, Golovkin, Charlo, Adames. It's just one after another, and he gives his absolute all in these fights as well. Always comes to have a go, gets stuck in, never backs down. But I just think he's took a lot of shots, and Munguia's a big, strong, young unit. And I don't think that if it was prime for prime, it would be a close fight. Probably would favour Derevyanchenko, but I think he's washed enough now, that Munguia, who seems to be on this strange career trajectory where he's like on the periphery of it. Everyone else is all busy fighting for titles and doing their thing, and he's like out there with Oscar having some kind of a party in between weights, can't make the weight. I don't know what's going on with his career, but I wouldn't be surprised, like you, Matty, maybe come the 9th or 10th round, they say, look, we're going to have to pull him out, because Munguia, for all his faults, he's excitable and he punches hard and he comes forward. And Derevyanchenko he's took a lot of shots. I worry about him. I think that he might end up, well, I'm not going to say obviously, but I hope that he's all right. But he's had a tough career and he always comes to have a go. And one time he's just going to fall off the cliff, and it might be on Saturday.
Yeah, quite possibly. But a guy like Derevchenko, Andy, yes, going to be outsized, going to be facing a big, high volume guy here, with definitely with a good swing about him. But Derevchenko has basically cut his teeth knowing how to fight as the smaller fighter. He might have a few surprises in store for Mr. Munguia if he has not gone off the proverbial cliff.
I think he probably has been off the cliff, mate. To be fair, I mean, he's been in like tough battles with Golovkin. I think Golovkin took the what was left his prime right out of him. To be fair, and obviously with the fights that kind of preceded that, actually Charlo and Adams fight pretty much proved the point. He's now almost 40, fighting a Munguia who's obviously still prime age, 26, 27. I'm shocked that he's got 41-0 at this point in that as well. He still seems semi-fresh at least, so I kind of agree with you. I think Munguia will win, but I'd be slightly surprised to see him get stopped. I think Derevchenko is gutty enough that he'll maybe see the final bell. So I'm going to see Munguia wins on points, but I think there'll be moments in the fight in that as well. Even though I think Derevchenko is over the well a wee bit, I still think he'll have wee moments in the fight. But I still ultimately expect Munguia to outwork him down the stretch, and I think he'll probably win it on points.
Points, all right, interesting. Well, let's see. Well, you never know. There's so many fights to choose from. Be interesting to see what Mr. Kennedy chooses for the prediction league this week.
The fiddly week, isn't it? Next week, there's lots of little bits and bobs going on.
There are, and we're gonna hop over the other card. Looking forward to the main event on that one. We'll get to a second. We're talking Saturday night, New York City. On that card, let's see here. Fair amount of stuff going on there. Got some Olympians on there. Got Bruce Carrington on there. You also have Henley LeBron, who looks all right. Robson Conceição in there against Nicholas Polanco. Let's see here. Damian Neva. I don't know if I've seen him against Helman Olquin. Omar Rosario against Jan Carlos Rivera. Jermaine Ortiz coming back in a 10-rounder against Humberto Galindo. Xander Zayas taking on Ronald Cruz. Interesting 154-pound fight there for the young Puerto Rican. What are your thoughts on that undercard, Steve? Anything kind of tickle your fancy?
Zero.
Yeah, well, I have seen that Kneiber, the one you mentioned there, the Polish fella. He's a bit of a plodder. He stopped Curtis Harper in his last fight, although Harper finally turned up to the ring, which is always a bonus. Conceição, they always seem to be plucking him out, don't they? Getting him a few wins, getting him back up to title level, which he'll lose, and then he'll disappear off again. Bruce Carrington, yeah, I prefer Abdullah Mason. I'm not that fussed on Carrington. I think he's a bit easy to hit at the moment. Henry LeBron, I saw him against somebody. Was it no, he's the other LeBron, wasn't it? They put the two LeBrons together. Luis LeBron. He beat Andy Vences in his last fight. Don't remember seeing that one. Xander Zayas, never heard of his opponent. Jermaine Ortiz, never heard of his opponent. It's light stuff, Matty, to be honest, really. It's just, you got the names on the left-hand side of the column, but it's just not matched up with people on the right that we've ever heard of. There might be a couple that surprise us, but at the moment, I'm not too fussed.
Andy didn't seem too fussed either, but Andy.
Oh, mate, it's all about the main event for me next week, to be fair.
Andy, so you are excited about Josh Taylor making his return to the ring after, I don't know, 18 months or some shit against Teofimo Lopez. He's 99 problems, and a bitch is about half of them for Mr. Lopez. And you know what? I'll tell you what, there's something about loose cannons, though, Andy, is that, yeah, they might break down maybe, what was that? Was it Oliver McCall against Lennox Lewis?
Yeah.
Maybe you see that, or maybe you just see some freak going in there swinging for the fences and he catches the guy. He's a bit of a wild card.
So is Taylor, mate.
But he's a skilled guy. Yeah, I'll tell you in the interviews, Andy, I think Taylor is definitely more under control than Lopez.
Oh, aye. Without doubt, mate. I'll tell you one thing about Taylor and that as well. I think he's he's rededicated himself. He looks more focused and he looks bang on the weight, which is the main thing. He doesn't seem to be kind of chucking it as well, towards the back half of the fight week. He seems to be, bang in the mood for it. I was listening to some of the stuff. I think some of the more longer documentaries will be popping out this week, I'd imagine, for the fight. But I seen a brief kind of like outlay of the big, I don't know what it was, press conference that they had, and Lopez is just talking complete gibberish, mate. Absolute gibberish. This is what we do. This is why we're here. And Taylor's like, what the fuck are you talking about, mate? Just complete shit. And then obviously he's going on about, his wife's divorced him again, and he's trying to take half his assets and half his mind just does not seem to be in it. We all heard him talking about he just want to kill him, put a body in the record, all this type of shit and that as well. I just don't think the guy mentally is there at this point, and it's probably a bad thing to say, but he's got too many people in his ear. He's got too many mouths to feed. He's the main breadwinner of the family. He's going through a massive upheaval in his personal life. He's got a kid to this woman that he doesn't get to see. And a guy like Taylor, mate, I'm telling you, he's a bad man. He's a nasty dude when he wants to be. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see Taylor come in the cunt this week and start mentioning the wife and start mentioning the kid and all that type of stuff, just to get into his head, wrap him up some more in it. Because the more Lopez comes at Taylor, and I think it suits Taylor's style of fighting. He's a massive 140 fighter. Lopez is just still trying to settle into the weight. And if all he's looking for, like he did in his last fight, who was he fought in his last fight? I think it went
Sandor
Martin. Martin. He was lobbing in that left hook, looking for it constantly the entire night. If that's what he tries to do against Taylor, southpaw, he'll block that shot and go right down the middle with a left hand and catch him square on.
Catch him with those check hooks like Martin was getting him with coming in.
There's that as well. Look, that said, I still don't know about the outcome of the fight in terms of how does it end by a stoppage. I don't think it does. I think Lopez has got enough pride in the belt, he'll maybe gut it out to the end and maybe Taylor wins out in points. But I just don't like the signs coming at the Lopez camp. It's just too many. There's just too much. There's just too much in the shadows for him at this point. Taylor, if he got Taylor, maybe at the time he was fighting Catro, it might be an ideal time for Lopez. But as I say, Taylor's now got himself back into focus. He's changed camps. He's got a proper trainer this time involved. He's got a strength and conditioning coach. He's back to eating properly. Obviously, remember he was mentioning about going up in weight after
he's
the
been out
fight.
of the ring for a year and a half with bullshit upon bullshit.
Well, apparently he's had. This one, he's the foot injury he had in the build-up to the most recent suspended Catro fight. I heard it was that bad. He's had to change up how he trains. So he can't go out running constantly all the time and that. Now I think he's got to do swimming basically. So the injury was bad enough that it's forced him to kind of change up how he trains a wee bit.
Wasn't it some like a nasty case of like plantar fasciitis or some shit like that?
I don't know, but I do know that it was bad enough for him to change up how he trains and that. So if it's changed it up and he looks how he's looking, which is in phenomenal shape, I think it's probably been for the better actually. And I forget the trainer's name for Liverpool and that, but he seems quite highly rated. And Josh seems to be listening to him because I don't think he really listened to Ben Davison and that. You saw him, you saw it yourself. I thought he regressed under Ben Davison, and you could say maybe he took his eye off. He took his eye off the prize post after the Ramirez win. He's made a big effort. He's won undisputed title after the World Boxing Super Series and that as well. After winning that, he's maybe just took his eye off the ball a wee bit for the Catro fight. And he admitted that as well. But as I say, I have heard the injury was bad enough for him to change up how he trains. So it seems to be for the better at least. So if he's managing the issue, that might work in Lopez's favour. Who knows? But we've seen Taylor take punches. We've seen him marked up. We've seen him cut. I don't think he'll be phased whatever Lopez brings to the ring. He's seen it all as an amateur. He's seen most of it as a pro. And I expect him strongly to win the fight. So I'll say Taylor on points.
Taylor on points. Interesting. Steve, for me, I don't think I can confidently make a pick on this one until I see the weigh-in and what the fighters look like on the scales. I just have a lot of curiosities about how Taylor's making 140 pounds this round. We've heard plenty of stories of, I'm eating right. I have a nutritionist, et cetera, But when you're done at a weight, you're done at a weight, and it doesn't matter what they're putting in your mouth. It's just you're gonna weigh what you weigh.
Yeah, no, I think that's an absolutely fair point. We're not sure where Taylor is at physically, and equally so, I don't know where Lopez is at mentally, or I don't know where either of them are at mentally. Andy made a lot of good points. I feel the
No,
same
I
myself.
think we know where Teo's at mentally. I think of all the
Yeah.
unknowns in the fight, that's not one. He's a fucking nut bar who's got 10,000 things going through his mind, but he's fucking mad, and that's the interesting thing. Like that's why I disagree with Andy. I don't think this goes to the card, Steve. I think this is going to go knockout one way or the other. I think Teo's coming out there to take out his pain and aggression on something, and he's either going to land his shot or he's going to get sparked himself.
Yeah, I think away from the ring, he's definitely lost the plot. He's sending out all these strange tweets, and his personal life is certainly dissolving away. His old man doesn't help the whole situation. I think they have this kind of toxic dependency on each other. They need to get away from each other, but it's never going to happen. And the ex-wife, man, she seems like a cold-cut woman to deal with as well. Brutal at ringside. I saw the footage at the time when after the Sandor Martin fight, when Lopez leant over to try and get the son, and she just gave him the dead eyes, and wasn't for handing that child over, man. She ain't messing about, that woman. I'd say she could throw a mean knockout shot herself, but
everyone wants a Latina woman until you choose your Latina wife.
Exactly. That's like a L number 2 on his record, I think. But Taylor's been badly inactive as well. He struggles at the weight, as you mentioned. Can he get inside and bully Lopez? Maybe he'll stand off and box a little bit, as he did at times against Ramirez. He has different strings to his bow. I know people don't like him away from the ring, Taylor, but in the ring, I'm a fan. I think he's a great fighter. I think his resume stands up to anybody. The wins and the manner he did them is absolutely fantastic. We were talking about pound for pound material earlier, and no one's going to put Josh Taylor in the top 10 pound for pound, but that run through the World Boxing Super Series or whatever it was, and then on to beat Ramirez, was as good as anybody's done in that space of time. But as you said, Teofimo will be pumped up early on, and that's when he'll be dangerous. He'll be standing off, throwing really hard single shots, looking to get rid of his aggression. Maybe have some success like Prograis did, but Taylor will look to drag him into the trenches, and the later it goes on, that's when it becomes Taylor's fight for me. That's his portion of the fight. As long as he's rehydrated safely and the gas tank doesn't empty, which it hasn't showed signs of, to be fair, so far, even against Catchall. He was getting outboxed and he was undermotivated, but he was able to keep plugging away, which is eventually the justification for him getting the decision. So if he can maintain that work rate, I think that's when it becomes dicey for Lopez. He takes over. Lopez starts to go backwards, goes into his shell a little bit, and his shots aren't having the same effect. And that's when Taylor will close the show on points for me. It'd be interesting, a stoppage either way. I wouldn't rule out a stoppage either way. Maybe Lopez catching him early on with a shot around the ear or something, or Taylor getting to him late on. But I think the safe bet is points either way, and Taylor for me. And I think it's better for boxing if Taylor wins as well. I'd rather see him do it.
The tough thing is we've seen Taylor pretty much against everybody at 140, and I don't know where he fits in the 147 pound division. I had like a confident, competent, got his shit together Teofimo Lopez. I think it's better for him to win because there's some fights obviously that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, the fact they're fighting each other is really good, but it doesn't sound like it's really caught much momentum. I don't know if Joe Kennedy's going or not, but he might be one of the only ones. They said they were struggling to shift tickets, and it doesn't have that big fight feel. You know, the way you hear a lot and you sort of get pumped up. It's kind of caught up on me. I mean, I could be the exception to the rule here, but for us, you know, bigger fight as it is a massive fight, really, considering where they've been over the recent years. But it's their recent endeavours, activities, and performances have meant that it's gone under the radar a little bit. So credit to both men and for Top Rank for putting this together. And I'd be interested behind the closed doors. I always say this, the likes of Bob Arum, he'll say this, that, and the other to the microphones and to the talking heads, but behind the scenes, they'll know who they want to win. They'll know who they think's going to win and who they can deal with better going forward and what they can do with. And when the lights are off, kind of discussions. And I'd be interested to know who Bob and his crowd are rooting for here.
Yeah, isn't it interesting to try to process that in your head? Who and what and why? With all these fighters, he's got avoiding 140-pound opportunities away from his stable. Bob is certainly looking at some in-house opportunities down the way, but I don't think anybody.
See, bonus. You know, as you say, it is interesting, but would you really want Lopez to win? If you could start the card for one fight in this fight, would you do it for Lopez, considering what he's gone through mentally just now? Can he hold it together going forward? That's the question. I don't think he can, mate. I mean, you're going to put him in a situation where he might become the number one guy off your promotion, and he just can't handle it. He just cannot handle the pressure.
No, he's I think that at the end of the day, he's going to have a few good wins, but I think that Teofimo Lopez is going to be a lot more questions about what he could have been than answers about what he was, and that's a shame. It's also a shame that Rob's not here to talk about it because I know he has some very specific opinions about what he's done with his training team and not treating Joey all that well. But that's a different
because
story.
it was Joey. Joey was obviously he was the or the Wasserman now, but he was a Sutherland fighter. Actually, he covered the Scandinavian fighters. I'm sure he done Brackhouse and a few of those guys. And that was him who came up with the game plan really, and studied the tape to break down Lomachenko. You know, and then what happens? They decide to save 10% and chucked him at the side, and they lost it, and he lost his title in his first defence. That's what happens. You start skimming costs.
The expertise came at a cost. I agree with you, Andy. Actually, I know Rob said this before. I think Joey Gamache is a good boxing brain, and I think that it was to their detriment they got rid of him for skimping, basically.
Now, there's a question. Where's Joey Gamache these days, actually? I've not seen him. Is he still with Otto Wallen?
I'm not sure. He was in somebody's corner recently. I can't remember who it was now. I say recently, it could have been about 2 years ago. Can't mind.
There's one for the listeners and find where Joey Gamache is working these days and who he's working with.
Where's Joey? Like a wee face in all the boxing.
Where's Wally?
Where's Wally?
Well, let's see here. I think let's see here. We got a comment here. Oh, let me pull this down first. All right. Got a comment from Marcus Bellinger. It says, "Hey lads, hope all's well. Pretty sure I emailed you before about him, but Hayato Tsutsumi scored a 12-round wide unanimous decision over Geo Santissima on Wednesday to capture the OPBF featherweight belt in just his third professional bout. The OPBF is an Asian equivalent to the European title, so no bullshit belt. I expect Tsutsumi to be in the featherweight world title picture in the near future. Also, the Ohashi Gym today signed unbeaten Filipino flyweight Dave Apolinario, who's shown plenty of potential so far. Keep up the good work. Cheers, Marcus." Thank you, Marcus. We appreciate that very much.
Yep, got his finger on the pulse on Asian boxing. I've never heard of half these guys, but occasionally he was telling us about Kenshiro and that, and I know Andy was, and some of these other guys, so it's good to keep an eye out for them. Hayatomo, only 3 fights, beat Santissima. Not really much of a puncher, but apparently he is highly thought of, so
he beat
soon. Yeah.
He beat that Laszlo Alvarez, I'm sure, and possibly it was the World Championships a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So I think I got that right anyway. So I worth maybe double checking that. I think it was last year he beat Alvarez, who I think I'm right in saying is also an ex Olympic champion.
One of the Cubans, isn't he, Alvarez?
Yeah, that's right. I think he's also won the Worlds and that as well a few times.
Sounds like a very talented individual there.
Right.
So, speaking real quick, we mentioned Teofimo Lopez. I said he might be a case of what could have been this week. This week, I don't know if it belongs in the belly of the week or not, Steve, but Gervonta Davis violating the terms of his probation, and I think violating as far as he was either his house arrest or just his area that he could be allowed in.
He was meant to be staying at Calvin Ford's house, and he's meant to be spending there 90 days, and only done 30. He apparently was staying at Sheraton Hotel.
He's an absolute dickhead, and I was afraid of this happening for his own sake. I said this before to you guys, I know I said it to Andy. This was a make or break situation for Davis. He's fucked about his whole career, and he's been on the edge of this. And this whole situation was disgusting. The stories that we've heard make it sound a really, terrible situation. And they've got him through it. All the charges have been whatever. He's been under house arrest, and I says, right, this is make or break for him now. Let's see what happens. He's either going to go one way or the other. He'll either violate this and he'll be in the clink, and we see he's going to go down that path, or this will maybe be a shake of his head at 28 years of age, and he'll go the pound for pound route and start clearing up. And he's made his decision now, and I guess we'll see which direction he's going to be going in.
Yes, he definitely is not interested in taking this golden ticket that was given to him by the judge and running with it, Andy.
Yeah.
The judge basically just looking at it as saying, give him a chance. we're going to keep him around Baltimore, keep an eye on him at different levels, through this period of time. It didn't say he couldn't fight or anything like that. It would have just basically said that he would have to fight in Baltimore, which, would have helped the city's economy, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes that's, played that role from the bench, I guess, if you got a chance. But nonetheless, I thought the judge gave Gervonta Davis a golden ticket in this case, and he basically just ripped it up and threw it on the floor of the courtroom here. Definitely a mistake.
Yeah, and again, mate, it comes down to who's got to run about him, really, is tell him, listen, dude, you can't do this. You've got to do this. You've got to do this. Right? You've got to stay inside for the next 60 days. Then you're free and clear. You're free and clear. But he's probably full of yes men behind him and that. Yeah, let's go here, dude. Let's go here. Not type of shit. And then that's what's happened. Somebody's grassed him in, or he's got caught on social media, posting his whereabouts, and that's how they picked him up. Who knows? But Steve says this is the concerning thing now. Actually, when you start, jail sentences and no doing as you're told as such, you begin to worry, because this is the type of fighter who every time I watch him fight, I'm saying to myself, you've got to keep this guy active, because you allow him too much time off, like everybody else, maybe like a Ricky Hart, and they go away and put too much weight on, or something's bound to happen. It was like what do you call him, Johnny Tapia. Loved to fight, absolutely born for it. But when he was away from the fight game, what was he doing?
He loved cocaine.
He loved cocaine. He loved to party. He loved to die and get brought back to life. Fucking hell, man. And then obviously you've had Davis with the hit and run, the baby mama situation. You had the situation before his last fight with his missus, put shit in his toothbrush, all that type of stuff and that. Whatever relationships he's in with women and that, it seems to be toxic. So get away from the women. That's what he needs to be doing in that as well. Fucking buy one if you want, for a couple of hours or whatever you got to do in that if you need to get your rocks off. But something's going to change. And again, when he's got all the power, it's hard to tell a guy like that, things are going to change here. I just hope he can keep it together long enough before it does go off the rails, because I think it eventually will. And then we'll be left here wondering about a Valero type story, that we're wondering what if, how good he could have became if he keeps going on doing this.
Yeah, well, going off the rails is the key phrase. Like Chris Butler said there, he's only going to be banged up for 2 months. Don't think it will affect his career. No, I agree with that in the short term, but it's the long term, and the decision making process has not changed. It's not going to be this maybe, but it's going to be the next thing. I could be completely wrong, but it doesn't look good from a decision making process.
Well, and this is like 3 years too, I think, was like all the sentencing added up and stuff like that. He's got to basically keep his nose clean.
Yeah.
So he's got this little stay in the clink. What happens if he makes a second mistake? What's
he got away with one, like you say. He definitely
this is the thing as well, is because the
great timing, Rob.
As I say,
one of my specialties, Matty, in fairness.
The reputation can go against him a little bit as well, because he goes to the club and that type of thing. What happens when you go to the club? You're going to get some pissed up arsehole who wants to test you, maybe does a wee bit of boxing training, a bit of MMA stuff, fancies himself as a bit of a fighter. You think fucking G-Dog isn't going to be here wrapped up with fucking guns and Glocks and his mates on the fucking arm? It could only end one way. So this is the other thing as well, is stay out the fucking nightclubs, stay out the pubs. You can do all of that when you retire and you're fucking 40-year-old and your career's finished. Then you can go to the clubs. Then you can do what you want. In the meantime, he needs to have the right people running about him. I thought Calvin Ford had a strong grip on him actually as well. I really did, because usually when you get successful young fighters and that who have been with the same trainer for so long, it tends to be as though, well, they get kind of cast off and the fighter goes away on his own and that type of thing. But he just needs a strong figure really to kind of say to him, look, we're not doing this tonight. We're not doing this tonight. This is for your own safety. But it just doesn't have the right folk, I think.
Rob, right now we're talking about how Tank Davis is just screwing up his career, violating terms of his probation, looking at a couple of months in the clink. Are you worried that he is potentially putting at jeopardy all these mouth-watering fights at lightweight?
Not really. I would have been a bit more so beforehand. I think Davis is learning on the job in a lot of ways. Like we all know the story about like when that Mayweather made public because he felt slighted, but he moved Tank out to Vegas and or LA and put furniture in an apartment for him when he was turning pro, and give him a rollie or whatever, and he sold all the furniture and moved back to Baltimore. On the night, I think, not the Pedraza fight, the night he had a very low-key performance on the I think Lomachenko's on that undercard as well. It might have been a Floyd Manny undercard, actually. Had a very low-key performance, petulant kind of performance in the ring, and someone had a member of his family or his close friends kidnapped in Baltimore, demanding a ransom. So, see, I thought he'd been moving smarter. We had the episode with the baby mama. We had he's had Casanova 2 times, who's now behind bars himself for a fucking massive RICO charge, walking him to the ring the night there was a shootout in the Barclays and stuff. So he hasn't been moving the smartest. But I'd say this probably seems a bigger deal than it is, because I feel like they're going to I feel like he has enough bread for a lawyer to get this thrown out and rescinded. I think they're appealing it, aren't they? They're saying that Calvin Ford's house wasn't fit for purpose. It's a 1-bedroom apartment or something, and that he couldn't be there or whatever. So I'd say, from what I feel like they're going to have enough money to make this go away. Having said that, that doesn't mean that he doesn't need to be moving smart. The same with Shakur Stevenson. Apparently he was on the scene the night your man from Migos got shot. Was it Quavo? I think got killed.
Yeah, in Houston, was it?
At a gambling, at a street gambling thing, and Shakur was in the background, apparently with the shooter, or somebody who was with the shooter or something. So, you'd hate to see things go this way. But again, I always kind of go back to fighters aren't fucking brain surgeons or, fucking diplomats, or they're just fighters sometimes, and they need the right people around them. But at that level, when there's that much money and there's that much people, you see it with AJ over on this side, even so many hangers on, so many people not willing to give up their spot, that inevitably, what I would say about Joshua is he moved smart enough. I think he got caught slipping once and robbed, going on a booty call or something, allegedly. But it's tough for fighters, and you got to stay. If some of them on this side, I think are better advised, or they don't have the same kind of perils that they can fall into. But any of the fighters, if you come from underprivileged background, as soon as you blow up and start making money, you kind of have a target on your back from people wanting to extort you, people wanting to rob you, people want to get something from you.
Fucking gold diggers.
You know what I mean? It's so it's sad in many ways. But the fact is, and it's kind of one of the things I liked about Floyd, is that he only wanted to make money, and he's not really concerned with friends, even though he doesn't seem to have any real friends. But those friends don't belong about deserting you when there's nothing in a forum, that way. So hopefully it doesn't end up that way. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. What I think that Davis will be all right this time, but I wouldn't rule out something happening down the line, the nightclub altercations, as Andy mentioned, stuff like that. If he won't, in the preparations for Garcia, you've seen him in a wheelchair getting carried out of the club as well. Stosh is drunk with charges pending, so
you never know. Was the Super Bowl as well getting carried out in a wheelchair?
Yeah, that was maybe the Super Bowl. That was just before camp for Garcia, wasn't it?
Aye.
So he balloons up in the weight, and that he likes a party. I don't know. Maybe he's enjoying. There's probably a thin line between enjoying the trappings of success and falling down a bad path, that way.
It's a young man's lifestyle, Rob. That's the thing, and it catches up to you at some point in time.
Tell me about it. Next thing you know, you're married on a fucking boxing podcast on a Sunday night, and it's all over. You know what I mean?
It's rough times, what could have been, right, Rob? Before we move on into the Bellews, I'll give you a chance here real quick to get your say in on anything going on coming up. Of course, you got Sonny Edwards fighting Jaime Munguia as well.
Fucking hell, I thought, geez, that's a bit of a jump for Sonny Edwards, taking on all comers.
Yeah. Adrian Broner in the ring. And then, of course, Josh Taylor, Teofimo Lopez on Saturday night, of course, Sunday morning for you.
Yeah, all good fights.
Fuck off.
Good fight. I think Taylor and Teofimo Lopez is the most.
That's all right. But Broner on that, no way.
Oh, Broner. Well, Broner's fighting a lot of fights. We don't know which one I'm talking about. He's Sonny Edwards will be a routine win. I think it's an opponent. He's just trying to stay active. So stick the fucking mortgage on UD Sonny Edwards, like on the parlay there, Maddie, like for some certain fucking.
No, you
returns.
know what happens if I put Sonny Edwards by decision in the parlay, Rob? You know what'll happen? Or a headbutt, technical draw, some stupid shit.
Well, barring any fucking unforeseen circumstances, you'd expect Sonny Edwards to cruise. I'm sure Broner's opponent is just an opponent. That says nothing. We don't know where the fuck Broner is at this stage of his career, what kind of shape he's in. He's been making all the right noises, but he's been doing that for about 7 years. I think I've been on the pod 6 years, and I think Broner's peak had come and gone by the time I'm on the pod, but yeah, he's still a fucking...
You spot about 3 times during that period, Rob.
Exactly, but he's a constant feature, so good luck to him. Like, hoping this is the fucking rise from the fucking Phoenix with Don King to have the last laugh on everyone. And I really want him to fight Conor Bain and knock Conor Bain out. That's the fucking end I want for Adrian Broner and Conor Bain, so let's make it happen.
Be like the trashiest version of Rocky ever.
Yo, LP, we did it. Fucking Teofimo and Josh Taylor. I expect Josh Taylor to beat the shit out of Teofimo Lopez, and if I'm wrong, I'd be hugely surprised. I think the wheels have fallen off massively with Lopez inside of the ring, and there we go. We talk again about outside of the ring. There's him, 24 years of age, 23, is he 23, 24? Wife has divorced him. She's taken half of his past and future earnings on some Jim Mosley shit. Not letting him see the kid. Now, I don't know what kind of a dad. He could deserve all that, but that's like a massive mental pressure that he's dealing with. Then he has the family that he's feeding. He has his dad in his ear in the corner. I think his last 2 performances, the one against Kambosos and the comeback one at 140, where he's saying, do I still got it? Do I still got it? I really worry for that guy. I don't think he's all there mentally. And one thing you have to be against Josh Taylor is fucking mentally prepared, because he's not going to leave any stones unturned. Like, he's due a big performance himself after inactivity since the Catcher fight. He's staying at 140. There was previous talk he couldn't make the weight. He's ditched boxer size bend, so I fully expect the best version of Josh Taylor, and I think the best version of Josh Taylor at 140 takes some beating, by the way. He's beaten like Ramirez, Baranchik, Prograis, like a proper fucking bona fide world champion at 140. All right, should have probably lost the Catcher fight, but fellas have off nights, and sometimes there's fellas just better than you or a style better than you, but for the most part, you would say Josh Taylor is a better fighter than Teofimo, or proved to be a better fighter than Teofimo at 140. We don't know what Teofimo was like at 140. We don't know if the power's carried up. He certainly doesn't seem to be able to have the fucking IQ to set the shots up when he was blasting out the likes of Richard Comey and that. Like, you thought the power was real. Definitely thought he hurt Lomachenko at box better than a lot of people give him credit for in the Lomachenko fight. But Kambosos' performance was bad, and the last one he was doubting himself. And I just think mentally, I could see a quit here. Like, I could see a quit at some stage in this fight. I could see him pulling out or make an excuse or something, or an injury or something like that. I think Josh Taylor's going to stop him. So that's my
Getting up for the
opinion.
boys.
Yeah, probably will actually. Probably will.
Yeah,
Steve, did you get up for the what fight was it? Oh, one I stayed up for. When did I got up for it? Oh, crazy.
Lowman Haney.
Lowman Haney, did you stay up for it?
No, I didn't.
You said you would actually.
I know I didn't.
I
say a lot of things.
He's getting too old. He's getting too old for that bullshit.
I woke up when it was just over and watched it on YouTube, so I felt like I stayed up for.
I might get up again. Actually, it's on the East Coast this time.
I've been getting up. I got up for. I got up for a few fights. What was the other one? Garcia and Tank got up for that. Getting up all over the place these days, basically.
Getting back into it again. Have you changed your diet or something, Rob?
You changed it for the worse. I'm drinking and everything now. It's fucking unbelievable. Boss.
Bring on the chicken balls.
Fucking chicken balls.
Steve, please tell me we've got that video for Bell User of the Week.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Oh, tasty. Big John's got a fucking message for you.
Anyhow, I think I know what you're talking about, and I am ashamed if we are going to be showing that on the podcast. But anyways,
Oh yeah, because you don't want to drop the standards of this fucking podcast.
No, it's this is a highbrow establishment, Mr. Kelly.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, I think that we have done about as much damage as we can potentially do at this point in time, as it was a very slow weekend here that we have just experienced. So I'm going to send it over to Steve for the value of the week.
Thank you very much, Matty. Episode 526. Matty's here, as you heard, Andy, Rob, and me, Steve. Mark Stanton, he says it was hard to get up for the Claressa fight. She's a hard wank.
Yeah.
Was it referee stop contest or decision?
It was
a draw. 5 in the morning.
It was in the chat. Listen, it must be great, like getting the Bob Arms AJ 90, whatever it is, man. But it must take forever for him to bust or not. Just like that one, it's a hard wank.
Oh dear, right into the value of the week. Yeah, I got a couple of John Fisher videos actually. Hopefully, I'm going to be able to play the one that Andy was referencing. Off with this one that was sent in to me this week.
Trying to collect the Chinese and leading the pack was the Romford ball, closely followed by Big John, who would be at the front if he could walk any faster. Then we have Joe the Pug Pugh, who'd come along for the ride, followed by Spencer Oliver, and of course, Gareth A. Davis. Gareth was an enigma. He mixed class and elegance with rock and roll. For example, he only drinks tequila, but he always sips it. He drives a Jag, but always in a slow lane. He was living the high life and taking his time with it, and the high life had led him here, about to pick up a Chinese with Big John and Spencer Oliver.
Fucking hell. You used to wash that hair, by the way. Or at least fucking run a comb through it. You know that I'm jealous, like, I wouldn't want hair like that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
that's one of my worst. Imagine getting fucking stuck with Big John Fisher, the guy, and Spencer fucking Oliver. Fuck me. In some kind of crazy sketch that doesn't make any sense, by the way. Has anyone ever watched any of these fucking things? Stop fucking ruining the Guy Ritchie movies first, right? And another thing, actually fucking put some effort into the content. It can't be just Big John eats a fucking chicken ball every episode. Big John, I said, that was my fucking chicken ball. Jesus, who saw that coming? Not me, anyway. Fucking hell.
Well, Rob, you preempt us, actually.
Well, hold on.
Go on,
Steve, if you would have played that video with no sound, I would have thought that an old lesbian was chasing some bin men off the lawn.
Very good. Well, it gets better. I haven't seen this little TV sketch show that they've been making, but I have been tagged in quite a few, including this one.
This chicken ball is bloody delicious.
Hey, Big John.
Hi, Gareth.
Can I have a chicken ball?
These are my fucking chicken balls.
We'll see about that.
When Gareth A. Davis, martial arts specialist and elite combat warrior, asked for a chicken ball, you really should give him a chicken ball. But Big John had other ideas.
Thank God he's got. He's a mine.
Little did Big John know, Gareth had trained in China as a Kung Po warrior, and his combat skills were equivalent to that of a Jedi.
Fucking chicken balls.
Chicken balls, yeah?
Whoa! Stop!
Big John was moments away from elimination, but Stone Cold Spencer defies the wrath of Gareth's rage.
Don't worry, Gareth. I got the prawns.
Oh, that's all I ever wanted. John? Thank you, mate.
You could have the Kung Po prawns.
Thank you. Give me one, Spence. Piss off.
He'd mugged him right off. Spencer won, Gareth nil. Bosh.
Oh, the banter! Oh my god!
What the hell is going on?
I really think you should incorporate some of my kung fu moves. Oh, it's a fucking great idea. Since we're doing a big Chinese sit down, I am going to give you the kung pro pawns in the head, Gareth. Fucking hell. Oh, what do I have to fuck's sake, man? Jesus.
Man, it's like watch someone cheese grate your dick, innit, man? That's fucking awful.
What asshole is sitting in Vegas? What fucking asshole is sitting in Vegas with a big pile of money going, we got to get this guy out here?
I think it's where people pay money to watch
business,
it.
like show business. Fucking hell.
Or no business. Oh,
who's commissioning this?
Mate, I think they're doing it themselves, really. they'll have mates. So I can do this, motherfucker. Just
I've really been getting into the scripts, mate. This week I'm going to say, fuck off. That's my fucking chicken balls. Oh, Jesus Christ. Method actor. Like fucking Daniel Day-Lewis. Jesus Christ.
Hey, hang on. Big John's doing it in one take, I bet you. Can't buy class like that, mate. That's
he does it in a few takes and say, I haven't quite got that one there. Can we do it again?
That's a director's dream, mate, getting first takes all the time, you know. That's
Daniel Day-Lewis and There Will Be Prawns.
Daniel Day-Lewis, last of the chicken balls.
Bonkers, isn't it? That's all the videos from them boys I've got this week. But if you want to send me any in during the week, you can.
Big fucking John.
Right, True Boxing King's got a nomination this week. It said, if Terence Crawford beats Errol Spence, moves up and beats Jamel Charlo, hot damn, that'll be undisputed in 3 different divisions. I hate to say it, but Floyd Mayweather may have to move off that throne if Bud can pull that shit off at this stage of his career. #boxing, Spence Crawford. There you go. There's a hot take for you boys.
Does not belong in the value.
Are you on board with this, Matty?
Yeah.
Really?
Floyd off the throne?
I just don't see why he's got to get. Everybody's got to get debated. Just let the fucking fight happen.
Yes, if Crawford, because this is a 2-fight deal. I mean, I know this value, but I mean, if he can get 2 victories over Spence and then a W over Charlo, I mean, that's some serious stuff too. And if he does it by stoppage as well and continues his streak, it's something different. That's the
LA
one
pick,
thing.
First fight, LA pick.
That's the one thing. Oh, Crawford. That's the one thing that Floyd really lacked as he was moving up the weight divisions. Is he kind of lost his spitefulness, but Bud still has that, and he has it in spades. So,
tell you what, there's gonna be some tears on this pod whenever Spence wins.
You're going to Spence, aren't you? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Spence is showing a wee bit of brutality as well, mate. I think I'm going Crawford. I think Rob's going Crawford as well, aren't you?
I'm on my own. That's fine.
I always thought from the beginning of the time I thought Spence would beat Crawford, but I want Crawford to beat Spence. So I'm going to be rooting for Crawford, and I think at this stage, if it happens, I'd favour Crawford. But back in the day, I probably would have edged towards Spence. I just think they fucking crash and everything and the inactivity. But anyway, let's carry
on laughing at people. Balls. Yeah, let's carry on laughing at the chicken balls. The punch drunk boxing. I want to kill Josh Taylor. Teofimo Lopez. I want to kill Josh Taylor. They put a little asterisk in the eye and kill as well, just so it sounds a bit better. I took Loma's heart, but I'm taking Taylor's life. Lopez.
Broke ass asshole.
All because some fucker took his wife.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I'd say they're welcome to her, to be honest. He's on the death trail.
Mama
Sonny
told
Edwards.
You.
He's not going to kill anybody anytime soon. Eddie, if I win by knockout next week, can I have a follow back and a little cry emoji? Oh, poor Sonny. Follow back from Eddie.
That's fucking great.
No, he's fighting
Eddie
next
did
week.
It for the banter. Eddie's all about the banter.
Eddie loves the banter. So does Con. Chris Eubank Jr. Are we getting the fight done or what? If not, Ben versus Jerron Ennis next.
Make it happen.
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Fucking behave, man. Jesus Christ.
Jerron Ennis. He's not fucking fighting Jerron Ennis on the PBC, calling the shots. Is he on a DAZN cross promotion? Fucking
he's no fighting Jerron Ennis in this life, the afterlife, or any fucking former life, man. He's just no doing it.
Absolute unlikable fucking muppet. Like, he calls out people that are retired or on different networks that he knows he can't fight. Like, fucking shut up.
Mate, he's calling out Amir Khan. He's calling out Manny Pacquiao. He's calling out Kell Brook. Now he's calling out Boots Ennis. You see the fucking big swing difference here, though?
He's going from the
washed end to the prime end.
Spence was the first one that he went after on his little victory tour when he was coming back, wasn't it? Yeah, you've been doing a lot of talking, Errol Spence. Fucking hell.
Well,
the cheeky man. Fuck's sake.
Get him in with Bill Hutchinson, Matty. That's what I say.
Yeah. Well, some
give him Ennis.
Well, Steve, some fighters call out fighters throughout the weight classes, and Conor Benn likes calling them out throughout all of the age demographics.
Yeah, exactly. It's inclusivity and diversity these days, Matt.
100%. It's a modern
Never mind
world.
them fights, by him. I want to see him fight Stanley Owens. Stanley Owens just needs one punch to beat him.
Nice job.
You're pinging that face back on it.
Dude, he would probably do to him what Joe Joyce did to Daniel Dubois.
If you ever seen Juan Manuel Marquez work on the speed bag or on the peanut, that's what fucking Stanley Owens would be doing to his. Look at that chin, man. He wouldn't miss that chin.
Especially if it's up
Ben
in the air
has
like
a lot
that.
in common with Marquez as well, doesn't he? Pretty similar.
Loves his eggs, yeah.
On the eggs. On the piss. Goblin piss.
Spouted.
Oh dear. Talking spouting, here's old Isaac Lowe. My Twitter always get used going. Fast Tomino says, your Twitter makes me realise how privileged I am to be literate. And then Isaac says, just for everyone who put up a better fight up, me or Conlon, that for people who say I know world class, and fair play to Conlon, he give it he best. And that's me not having a dig at him. It's just for yous. No, it's all out there. So that's decisively cleared up. Someone was saying who fought Lopez better, Andy, during the week. Conlon and Isaac Lowe. Tell you what, Isaac give him a good go in comparison. Like,
aye, but did you see how you got stopped?
Aye.
Oof.
It was brutal, wasn't it?
Fuck him. He turned his back for
diminished his vocabulary in one round.
Oh, mate, the bastard got fucking re-scrambled.
Re-scrambled.
Apparently all the king's horses and all the king's men.
Brutalmente. Oh my gosh. Right, we'll be on to now. We have Conor McGregor. He's going in on Canelo. Canelo, you little ginger sausage. I beat you with no hands. Don't forget. What?
Oh, mate.
He's on one this week.
Yeah, guys, I've got to laugh at me. So he's calling out that poor fucking True Jordy. I've known nothing about the guy. I think he called him out. Anyway, you've got Michael Bisping literally calling Conor McGregor 2 years after the Katie Taylor fight, saying he needs to get off the fucking powder and get back on the protein shakes. He's making an embarrassment of himself. But he doesn't call it Michael Bisping because he knows what Michael Bisping would fucking do to him. But he calls it this guy just because he's got an opinion on a podcast.
Who's he calling out, Andy?
He called it the True Geordie. He said, hey, bitch tits, estrogen head, you little burn victim looking Yorkie. Keep my name out your mouth, yeah. Something like that. He said,
the Geordie who was in going back with Tyson Fury there before.
Aye.
Yes,
I think it's him.
Yeah. He said to him, he goes, you little pussy, I fuck pussy, yeah? Keep my name out your mouth.
Steve, see if you can get that one cut, mate.
Yeah. We'll get us cut.
That one. Put that one on, mate, just for the banner.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. I might have to.
Actually, he's definitely off his fucking chops because he was full Dublin. He goes, what does he say? He was like, estrogen head, sick of your little voice. Who scalded your face with a fucking kettle?
Oh, yes, I've seen it, Andy. Don't worry, I've got that one cut ready.
Good,
yes, I've already got that one ready. Before we do so, I've got this one here. I thought I'd throw this on. Justice for you, Andy. Chris Owicki. It's not strictly value of the week, but men mobilised by the Russian army were reportedly sold to a mercenary group for 25,000 rubles each, $310, and told they would be shot unless they fought in the Battle of Bakhmut. Hundreds are said to have become casualties. Now their relatives cannot contact the survivors because they've been sold into sexual slavery. Justice for you.
Yes, told you.
He was fucking right all along. It's like Alex Jones.
Difference is, this is in Ukraine now. This isn't happening in Chechnya now.
I was all laughing about that like a real jolly topic.
Fuck's sake, guy.
I don't know. Actually, it's not really funny because they probably didn't want to be there in the first place. It's like it's just been really downhill. Like, hey, you're gonna go fight your Slavic brothers in Ukraine. Ah, shit. Oh, hey, this mercenary group just bought you guys all for like the cost of a television. Ah, hey, what? All of you are now getting fucked in the ass.
You can't laugh at someone else. Who can you laugh at, Matty?
Remember, Matty. See, it doesn't matter how cold, wet, hungry, dead on your feet, dog shit tired you are. Just remember one thing: some other poor bastards got it worse.
That's for sure.
So somewhere in Eastern Europe, there's somebody who's chained up with something in an orifice that is far less cumbersome than a penis.
Still wonders for the algorithms anyway. It's
supposed to be value of the week, man. Sexual slavery is supposed to be funny, Matty.
Why are you guys laughing?
It took years for it to be proven.
Well done, Andy.
Andy's like Nostradamus. He's got sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout, and sucked out, fucked out, sold out. Oh.
So that's what happened to Sergei Rabchenko.
Legs are shaky.
Oh, legs are shaky indeed. Here's a good one from Dave Matthews. Tim Waddy tweeted out, "Hi guys, just spent £1,800 on a new sofa, only to be told it's a 12-week waiting time for delivery. Anyone know where I stand?" And Dave Matthews said, "I'd say the living room because you won't be sitting there, mate."
That's great. That's
quality
great.
banter. Quality.
Very dirty. Still dirty to this day.
£1,800 for a sofa sounds a bit cheap though.
Fuck's sake.
Where's the game it for? Fucking S&M.
Not Steptoe's Yard, anyway.
Oh, brilliant from Terry Matthews. That's brilliant.
That's a good one from Derry. Yeah, Oscar De La Hoya's been going off for one. He says,
Oscar.
WTF Ryan Garcia, it's been almost 2 months and you're still crying about the post presser. The blame for your loss is on you and your advisor, Lupe. It is the only one who pushed you to accept that insane rehydration clause, and that is the reason you lost. Man up, own that, he said, and he went on to say, also, you keep saying Tank's team offered more support to you, blah, blah, blah. Bro, they set you up to lose with that rehydration clause. And most importantly, Al Heyman didn't even show up the entire week. Actually, he never shows up. How's that for support?
Oscar on a totally normal one at the moment for the last few weeks.
That's quite coherent for him, actually.
I mean, this is also going off and one after the Garcia come out just before us saying the Pacquiao fight is definitely not happening because Oscar's been trying to make that a fight, or he's been mentioning touting Pacquiao's name for him anyway, and he's like, bro, that's not happening, man. It's not happening. And
he's been trying to get that made for like two years, and obviously Ryan Garcia is looking at him like I'm one of the biggest fucking stars in the sport. You want me to fight Manny Pacquiao, who's been retired from fighting holograms and all, you know? I mean, he's like maybe thinking this is not a fucking great business plan, but Oscar's like, yeah, bro, I think really Manny would be the fight to make. It's fucking tragic seeing Oscar like this. Like, I know we've said this before, but like, he was such a fucking great fighter. Like, and he's a wild dude on Twitter. He's like,
thing is, though, Oscar's want a wee bit extra money off that Pacquiao fight, right? And then also he's want to see fucking Garcia put him in the grave because after what happened to Oscar in that fight.
Oh, he's freaking bonkers. And do you think it says Heyman doesn't show up high and in heels either?
Or checks into rehab.
Oh, poor Oscar.
When the night he's fighter's biggest fight, remember that he ended up in rehab like the first night before.
See, I don't like it. I don't like this fucking Oscar thing. See the clip of him when he was like shadowboxing in front of the TV and that jab, man, jab, and he's like fucking his jaw's wired and your one's filming and all like, Oscar, man, come on, man, fuck's sake.
He's loving life.
He's like Conor McGregor, he's fucking worse. Conor McGregor cannot stand in front of a camera to fucking shadow box in front of it. By he just can't stand still.
It's all edgy for some reason.
Bit of nervous movement. Jack Catchell, who next? Night fight, says Jack Catchell. Well, I'd say so, Matty. I mean, that's usually when most of the fights take place.
Night fight.
Night fight.
Night fight? Question mark. Possibly.
I don't know. Steve, you think that this is funny, but what if he fights in Dubai? Then it might be an afternoon fight for you.
Yeah, he might be teasing us with an announcement. Absolutely. That's good.
The poster looks like fucking Fright Night.
That's like DAZN's done that, but I tell you what, he's not going to fight any of those guys.
You wouldn't fancy
who was
against some of them.
Who was it that fucking Raleigh's meant to be fighting next? We're talking somebody.
Ryan Garcia.
O'Hara's is mandatory, but
right.
I think it's Ryan Garcia, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. You wouldn't fancy too many of them against your man in the middle there. I'm not talking about Haney either. Subriel Macias, man. He's a flipping natural born killer, isn't he? Running with Puerto Rican motorcycle gangs or something, apparently. I was reading up on him during the week.
Great bunch of lads.
Oh, yes.
Send me that link, mate. I'd be interested to read that.
Yes, no, he's murders in the camp and all sorts. He's a bad man, that Macias, absolutely. Yeah.
I'd be interested to read that then. Send it in, mate.
Yeah, no, I'll send that to you. Anthony Joshua, he's going off on one as well, making Oscar look sane. I don't know about any talks to fight Dillian White every day. AJ this, AJ that. AJ's hairline's going way back, but I'll still fuck your girl. Go retweet that.
Yes, AJ into him. This is the fucking AJ we like.
This is what we need to know.
You don't know what he's saying in that tweet, but it's not nice.
he needs that Mike Tyson attitude. Fuck your girl and your pussy.
I'm fucking telling you now, I'm going to end up fucking going fucking 180 on Joshua, and he's going to be my fucking favorite heavyweight. I'm telling you, he's fucking more of this from him. Like, fucking ditch the PR shit, ditch the Eddie Hearn shit. Let fucking AJ off the leash. AJ should be getting the microphone going. Who wants to go fucked in this arena?
All he needs is a thruple, Rob. If he gets a thruple, fucking all in.
He couldn't handle 2 women, man. He gas it.
Women, I'm heavy.
Legs is shaky at him.
He gas it. Fucking brutal, man. When they get the job done.
But that's how he needs to start.
Use it to finish the job, man.
That's what he needs to start doing. He should have grabbed the mic instead of saying all that shit about the Ukraine. He should have said, Usyk, said your missus up here. I bet she dreams of a real man in her apartment every night.
But honestly, God, man, did anybody catch his training video during the week? There, he was this big massive axe against his trunk or whatever it was, and he snapped the head right off it. All he's got is his mates running about him filming it, clapping hands. I'm like, that is what's wrong. Don't need those fucking guys. Don't need these fucking camera tricks either.
I'm always very suspicious of fellas that start wheeling out fucking trees and chopping them. Very fucking high fucking suspicions about that. Going back to the old school ways of getting strong. Then everybody see you chopping these trees there. Going
back to that triple though, Matty. I mean, he could only last about 7 minutes. You know, he's heavy, mate. He can't last that long.
Yeah.
He's a new breed of shagger, basically. You know.
Yeah. I'm a new breed of porn star. I'm not like these 10 stone, 12-inch dick guys.
Yeah.
He's killing the algorithm. We shadow ban for fucking years. He's absolutely fucking killing us.
This isn't going to end up YouTube. It's going to end up RedTube.
Yeah. Down here.
Oh gosh.
That was one of the best moments in pod history. What a brick dropper that was like. Jesus.
What?
The night Donnie said it was Al Bernstein had liked a particular titled adult video. And we mentioned the title, and next minute Donnie just fucking came out with, well, I've done anal. We were like, what? And then Andy was just like,
he tells his wife.
Fucking Donnie just fucking tells me. She's like, why is he saying that? We don't fucking know.
I couldn't believe it, but he just dropped it right out of the blue. just like he's talking about like Al Bernstein liking this tweet, and then he goes, "What? I've done it myself." Like, what? And then he continued like, "What the fuck did he just say?"
Thanks for contributing to the algorithm, Rob.
Well, I never fucking said. Did I? I didn't yet. Sorry. Yeah.
Right, Andy sent me.
I did it in Donnie's voice. They'll never recognise, man. Fuck those AI bots.
Well, I suppose we play it at the end of every pod anyway, don't we?
Could be some reason we're getting.
Oh, exactly. Shadowban.
Fucking Shadowban anyway. Fuck's sake. Awesome. Well, what am I saying? I curse every 2 seconds. I would probably kill the other myself.
People whose real life is like the film Hostel love our podcast.
Oh my gosh! Well, maybe this guy Teofimo Lopez Senior. He's a bit bonkers. Let's see what he had to say this week against the haters.
Don't hate the player, hate the game. You just gotta learn to dance. We get another one, brother. Hi, haters. This year we get another one, brother.
Dude. He reminds me of
in a way,
Garcia.
Yeah, he's like, in a way, I kind of hope I end up like that. I don't think I'm too far off.
Decorating Jordans.
Yo, I mean, if I'm not 65 with a world champion son in a red tracksuit gyrating the fucking James Brown, the fucking big payback, what am I doing wrong? You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. You're gonna have to reintroduce cocaine to your existence if you're gonna get to that point. I think, Rob. That's just a hunch on my end.
Allow me to reintroduce myself.
For anybody who was wondering about who to pick next weekend, there you go. We might have just swayed you in one direction or the other. That is all the ones that I've got. A shout out to Johnny Nelson there, throwing in the solo super chat this week, 79p.
Keeping the lights on.
Oh, fuck's sake. I'm going to refund that, Johnny, just to spite you. Thanks anyway.
79 pence. What's that divided by 4? And if you come on at 9 o'clock.
You got to remember the 30% YouTube.
Yeah, minus the 30%. You make 14p there, Rob.
Get about a quarter out of that, so 54 cents.
Save up for
your
cool
interest.
Yeah. About 13.5 cents a piece, Rob. That's
well, thanks though, Johnny, man. Don't let the boys forget. Thanks for that, man.
Mark Stanton says that MTK money is getting low.
Where were fucking we when they were laundering all the fucking dough? We could have been fucking out of here.
People would say to you, "Oh, you're getting that MTK money." You know, sure as hell, I'm not. Every other fucker seems to be, but not us.
We're above reproach, mate. That's the thing. We don't fucking take any.
No, we're not.
can't
We
be
just
boss.
haven't been fucking approached with anything good.
Speak for yourself, and
James
Can't be
Kerry
bought
says,
this thing.
technically, you owe YouTube money after all the deductions.
Boys, put this in debt. Send this in the fucking river.
Oh my gosh!
make me ask for a hand.
Right, that's all the ones I've got. Andy, any from you, please?
Not much, mate. Obviously, I was going to put the Oscar one in. I thought it was pretty strong the way he came out there, but I just got to bag on young Teofimo Lopez again. Just for getting just for being the poor broke ass motherfucker who's got his stupidity for his father, who we've just seen dancing there like a fucking reprobate. Can't he hide the fact that he's an arsehole? You know, you remember the racist rants he went on in that as well, and he's got his father's mouth, and you know, probably congrats to his missus. Actually, she's fucking wise enough to bail out in his bullshit before it gets any worse. She's seen the writing on the wall. He's just your typical low IQ idiot who's just shown it as well in this fucking build up to the Taylor fight. He's fucked himself financially for years to come. You know, he's got this fucking carry on with his son going on there just now, man. This isn't looking good whatsoever. So Lopez is making every poor decision a young man can make at this point. So just to put a wee bit more misery on him, Lopez this week.
You could see actually when one of the fights when he tried to bring the son in the ring after the fight and all that during COVID, and she was like real pissed off at him. And note to all these fellas who are acting out on social media, your missuses are sick of you. They don't give a fucking shit about you talking into a camera.
Like Charlotte Fisher.
Fucking sick of your shit, and they're going to leave you. Not saying any names, Steve.
But yeah, you're right. You're probably right there. Actually, you know, the wife's getting fed up with his bullshit. Mama told you. Yeah, remember, there was a big issue before the marriage and that type of stuff. Mama told you not to do it. You did it. As my granddad used to say, son, it's the lure of the puss that gets you in the end. So, sorry, dude, but it's a wise man speaking. So, trust me on that one.
Well, things might be going downhill for Lopez, but they're going up for us. From 79p from Johnny, Des has thrown in a pound. So
come on,
Des. Creeping upwards there. This will do for the lawyers' fees, maybe.
We're doing a big John Fisher. We're back in credit.
Yeah.
Now, Rob, we're probably getting somewhere around 30 cents a piece.
Two cool pops tomorrow for me. Fucking hell.
Absolutely. Any value of the weeks for you, though, Rob?
Oh, what's that? 400 what? Check. That's 400 check.
Here we
check
go.
Kroner.
400 check kroner to supplement the deductions from Johnny's donation.
What's that?
400 Adrian Broners.
Well, I will say that he said he was buying like beers for around like $2 British in Czechoslovakia. I don't know what the equivalent is there, but that's a fantastic give there that from Thomas, who's a fantastic guy in the Nutters group, Steve.
Yes, he is. He's in the Patreon as well. The more money than sense, then, boys. Right, so I've done the calculations, and it's £14.51. £14.51.
That's the fucking price of a pint each to the fucking boys. That's it. Come on.
What? Pint each? Between the four of us? You kidding me, man?
Not in fucking Ireland.
Don't look the gift horse in the mouth there.
I mean, check money or whatever the fuck he's giving us.
Aye, so Steve, I've got their nomination, mate. Just that one that he's complaining during fight week that he's got personal issues are far more difficult than boxing, and his ex-wife filed for divorce, got to take half my money, half my assets, half my future earnings. This motherfucking this woman's actually got the best lawyers involved. Jim Mosley, I think, must be in the background pulling her strings somewhere. You know. Your husband called.
Seen him coming through glass windows hard, didn't she? Like, fucking hell. He was lined up for Theo.
But I tell you what, there was a picture dropped up actually between the two of them, and it's her holding up a kind of like a placard type thing. It's got your husband called and said you can buy anything you want. Steve, I'll stick it in the chat if you want to put it up, mate.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Sorry, Bob. Any from you, please?
No, I hadn't really got any. It was a slow week. I enjoyed the McGregor fucking Johnny roast. Because I was like driving in Dublin the other day, and I was walking by a guy, and he was big, like, you know, he's a big guy, and I had just been listening to it on a voice note, and it was popping out through the speakers, and I was like, don't roll down the window, like, but I was dying to, because he started off, hey, beach tits. So that was pretty good. And I liked AJ's Instagram post. I think AJ should start talking like this more often now and talk about whose girl he's going to fuck when he's promoting the fights. I think that's the fucking... Oh my God, look at that fight. You fucking AJ. Jesus Christ.
Ooh, that cost some money, baby. Who scolded you with a kettle? Well, I'll tell you what, Lopez is actually scolded with a kettle as well, because he's fucking having that watch is probably getting hawked off as well. I was thinking about poor Lawrence Coley there last week actually after that shit performance. You know, see, if I can finance his future, you need to kind of sell off that Rolex that Eddie bought him actually just to finance his next fight. It was that shit.
Your woman's a stone cold killer there. I tell you what, she's got more
look at her,
knockouts on the record than Lopez.
She looks like Jim Mosley as well, eh?
Oh, she has. I saw the same clip as I was saying. Rob did as well after the Sandor Martin fight. She wasn't handing that child over. She was like,
No, never trust a big butt and a smile. That's what they say.
Matty, any never trust a big butt and a smile, or any belly of the weeks from you?
I think I'm just going to have to go with my theme of nominating officials. So we're going to go with Gerard White and Catelia Chambers for 77-74 scorecard for Ardrell Holmes in the fight against Wende Toussaint. Totally biased ref, pulling the plug when the doctor said it could have gone on anyways. And those two scorecards, specifically the very wide one in favor of Holmes, just absolutely deserving of scrutiny. So another shitbag week from boxing in terms of scorecards. And we also should probably nominate the ones that were in the fight from Canada on Thursday as well.
Yes, absolutely. Those two definitely deserve nominations. Well said. That's all the nominations we have. Let's have a look through them before we do our picks for episode 526. There's Lopez there with his former side piece, AJ going in on the fans. Night fight night, who knows, for Cattrall. Oscar tweeting out is always good value. Gary Matthews going in on the sofa guy. Andy exonerated with sexual slavery claims. Conor McGregor, we've got Isaac Lowe. We had a bit of Con, wants to fight Jaron Ennis. We had Eddie Hearn and Sonny Edwards on the old Twitter. Teofimo again. And Matty says no to this one, but we're throwing it in anyway. To True Boxing Kings. We also had the videos. We had Teo's dad. And we had the Gad and the John Fisher Chinese balls. Rob, who are you going for episode 526?
Yeah, actually, what am I talking about? Like, it has to be fucking... I think we should use my Kung Fu in this video, John. Really think I have a background in Aikido and Kendo Nagasaki. The fuck is it? The fuck was that about, man? Jesus Christ.
And then you've got Stone Cold Lugs, fucking
Spencer.
Fucking Lugs, fucking Elliot turns up, man. What the fuck?
He's like Tommy in the fucking Snatch movie, isn't he? He Germans. He comes up at the end with the fucking zinger, like, fuck me. Yeah, it's that one like, for me. Fucking hell.
Okay, the Bosch crowd for Rob. Andy, what about you?
Oh, mate, I really wanted to go for Conor Ben because fucking Jaron Ennis, man. What the fuck's he all about calling him out? You just stop it right now. You're not going to be fighting Jaron Boots Ennis anytime soon. And Conor McGregor as well, just going pure cocaine head there again. What an absolute roaster there, man. I was actually watching the UFC thing during the week there, actually, for his fight against Chandler. So he's back in training anyway, at least. So that's something good. But yeah, I'll go for the Fisher video. What an abomination that is, man. It's not going to meet the Oscars at any point. I'll probably meet the Razzies possibly, but fucking hell.
John, do you want to run us through the script? Yeah, this time I'm going to say that's my fucking chicken ball. Oh, I think that's going to work wonderfully, John. Let's fucking do that one.
Hey, say that I sip tequila, baby. I only drink tequila, but I only sip it.
Oh.
What a fucking helmet. And then you've got Spencer, and then you've got Lugs Oliver turning up there in the fucking background, eh? Fuck off.
I love in life, Andy.
I know.
What's
Come on,
wrong?
man. Listen to us,
that's
living life here as well, mate. Take the piss.
Knocking people having a good time. We're a fucking bunch of get a life, us.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Shout out to the Nuthouse meetup. I'm going for the Bosch crowd as well.
Good Lord, they're talking. There's Fright Night now. Look at
There's Ricky Gravale at the end.
Get a life, the boys.
Ricky Grinder.
Ricky out his chompers, man. Look at that fist. That's a fucking wee mini Bolden he's got there.
That's why he's the enforcer.
It's a massive surprise to me that there is no women in the photo with 5 fellas with Boxing Asylum t-shirts on them. I fucking can't work it out.
Hang on, Rob. You speak too soon. There were actually some female-related photos. I haven't got them uploaded, unfortunately, but
probably best. Probably for the best.
Yeah. No.
Oh, is Ricky in the toilet doing the doggy? Is he?
And they look quite happy to be surrounded by such handsome fellas.
Good on the lads, though. Looks like a good night.
Ricky
I would have absolutely fucking hated to be there, but it looks like a great night. Nobody's joking.
Oh, we'll have to get that for next week. Well, the Boschies have won, Matty, but you can throw yours in if you want as a mere formality.
You know, given it doesn't matter, and it's like a positive one, and I like a good burn. Let's give it to Dirty Dairy for his nice burn regarding the 12-week sofa waiting list.
I know.
Yeah, that
what a poverty one that is, the £1,800 sofa.
Thomas Newman there says, all joking aside, do we have a Boxing Asylum t-shirt big enough for Big John when I go to see him in September? He's going to the Big John tour.
He's just giving his money away, isn't he, Thomas? What do you do about it? You have to fucking
well,
the crypto or something.
Well,
Bitcoin Rodney.
Bitcoin Rodney.
Well, Steve, I guess we're gonna have to get the Pakistani kids working overtime in the next month.
That's what I'm gonna say. If we have to make a t-shirt for Big John, we're gonna be repo rigged ourselves.
Imagine all the stains that'll be down the front of that t-shirt.
Oh man. Fucking t-shirt have more food on it in the menu. You need to make sure the stitches are solid as well. We need to make a triple stitch because there's a lot of weight it's going to be holding in there, man. Even the fat bastard size.
We should probably get something with a fabric that breathes too. You know?
Oh yeah, I think so.
What do you think? Yeah, made of 79 pences.
Yeah, you'd have to tell Johnny Nelson to up his contributions. I think if we're going to get that done.
We need more of them check dollars.
Congratulations.
Cash app. You need to get the cash app going.
Cash app for the boys. Congratulations to the Bosch boys. They'll be the week winners for episode 5 to 6. Also, beforehand, back to Matty. Johnny's thrown in 79p. Des as well. He's in the Patreon, patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. Has thrown in £1 as well. And 400 check thingamajigs. Is it Kronas or something there from Thomas?
Hey, as long as they can ultimately spend like pounds, right?
Exactly, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you to Thomas Newman. Just before I hand over to Matty, just on a serious note as well, just wanted to say RIP to a friend of the pod, Judy Fitzgerald, who passed away during the week from Limerick. Judy was a ring card girl. Met her a few times. Real nice, bubbly character, very friendly. You heard her on the pod as well. With Donny's never-ending question, unfortunately, she passed during the week. So, yeah, just our condolences to the family of Judy Fitzgerald, who passed during the week there, Matty. Thank you.
An absolute shame. Lose these people too young, Steve. That's for sure. Losing people.
Yeah, 32, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a shame. So, God love her and her family. Peace be unto you. I hope you can find some solace in this time of grief. It's just very tough, I'm sure. So, unfortunately, on that note, we're going to be heading out of here today, but I'd like to thank Rob, Andy, and Steve for joining us today, and we will be back. Well, they will be back next week to review the fight with Teofimo Lopez and Josh Taylor, and they'll also be going over some stuff that's coming up as well the week after. I don't know how much you guys are going to care, but we'll see about what's going on. Let's see here. The week after that, we're looking Oh, we got Prograis is coming in there against the kind of late replacement Danilito Zaria. So we'll see what's going on with him, how he's looking right now, waiting for those big fights. But until then, we will. You guys have a great week ahead. We have that new prediction league that's going to be starting up in about a month, and we hope to see some new people in the Patreon who want to get involved in that. But you folks have a fantastic week ahead, and we will see you next week.
We'll never forget.
I think that's good happening.
Go to animals!
We want to be honest, yeah.
Crying like a little bitch.
I've never met a fucking Toussaint that can fight me.
I fell asleep. You're a fucking bum. You're a fucking asshole.
Grumpo fucking Steltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't.
I will fucking smash. Fuck you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love boxing sounds. As simple as that.